If you are on YouTube right now and you have gone to the 710 KNUS channel, you are, I believe, able to see for the first time us do this show live. I'm looking directly into the camera, and I know you're never supposed to do that because you get hypnotized by the whole thing, but you are able to see, I think, for the duration of the show, and I don't mean 4 hours today because you know we're on from 6 to 10 Monday through Friday, but I think for the duration of the show, and that is until the FCC or Salem headquarters decides this experiment has gone awry and they pull the plug on it. We also have, and this was popular demand, Billy Cam. And you know that Billy and I both anticipated being on camera today because each of us is wearing hats. Now, I've worn hats in the past. Billy, not a hat guy.
No, I'm not
normally
a hat guy.
In the studio.
No, not at all. Not a hat guy. Normally, I have a large collection of hats, but
well, we're gonna get to
guy.
explore those because I also have a large collection of hats. Now,
excellent.
I almost wore a Denver Broncos hat.
Yeah, why would you do that?
And just to rub salt in the wound, I think, because...
Yeah. Oh, God, there's Billy Cam. That's bad.
Yeah. Buddy, welcome to the nightmare.
There should be some sort of disclaimer.
I told Tom coming up...
Mature audiences only.
Coming up the stairs to the building, I said, I was promised radio would have nothing to do with either my physical appearance or personal hygiene. Now with this, we've knocked out the physical appearance part, but remember, folks, you don't know when the last time I showered was. Frankly, I don't know when the last time I showered was. Weather today, and by the way, if you look at today's date, it's all ones and twos and maybe a little zero in there, 12/12/2022. It says that today is going to get up to 52 degrees. Now, I appreciate that. That's a minor adjustment over our last reading from this past Friday. As you know, we continue to explore the fraud that is weather prognostication, or as you know it, meteorology. I want to take you back, by the way, to an interview we did with Channel 7's Lisa Hidalgo. Fantastic person, great interview, but she revealed to us that some people throw that title around like it's just saying, like radio host. You know what I mean? Like there are legitimate radio hosts.
Or like saying you know how much snow is going to arrive. Just say whatever you want. Who cares?
That's right.
Yeah.
Like there's people there's Dennis Prager, and there's Gorka, and there's those are real radio hosts. And then there's me. Like if I say I'm a radio host, people go, wait, what? What kind of radio? I mean, are you still on air?
My favorite is when I meet people and they go, oh, I'm in the media too. I have a podcast. Yeah, not the same. Sorry about that.
Wait a minute, can you get a press credential if you have a podcast?
I don't believe so. You have to have a certain probably downloads but we know that can be manipulated.
I keep thinking that press card that we get is something that's going to open doors for me.
No,
it usually just opens the exit door. It doesn't actually get me anything.
It used to do great things. Now, not so much. You go back 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Oh, it was special. That press card was special, and the better one was the press license plate. Yeah. That was the magic ticket.
I've left the card on the dash when I've parked in Denver. Of course, as you know, with Denver, I think the entire government is funded off of parking violations. There's
absolutely.
Nothing else that they do.
I know I ran through the mountains last week, and the town of Empire, entirely funded based on the fact that you speed through town. Whole town. That
was also Morrison, Colorado, and I think that's why they let their police department go the way of the dodo, and now they're hooked up with the sheriff's office. Here's the big kicker, folks. If you're wondering what's the day you might have to shovel or stop wearing that midweek tankini, it's Tuesday. It's tomorrow.
Oh,
snow and colder, 32 degrees. Now, that's a slight adjustment upward from where we were last Friday, but folks, I have read a bunch of things in my little news stream that tell me that it could be some type. If you look outside of Colorado, you go Google this when you get a chance when we're off the air. The weather that they're predicting for certain parts of the country is like Armageddon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there will be tornadoes, there will be earthquakes, meteor showers.
Yes. Sharknadoes and meteor showers.
Sharknado.
Yes.
Cities will burn. I mean, it's incredible what they're predicting, and obviously it's because of Billy's use of fossil fuels. But
obviously,
I'm
very gassy. It's just a tummy thing.
Again, why are we on video for
I
this?
know.
Anyway,
why are we doing this
I'm thrilled. I'm actually excited. And frankly, if you're listening right now and you're like, I want to get in on the action here, please go to the YouTube channel, 710 KNUS, and subscribe. That helps us. The more subscriptions there are, the more people get crushed with this joy.
Don't do that.
Oh, no, I want them to do it.
No, because if we don't have subscriptions, they can't do the broadcast anymore. If this would go away.
No, I don't believe that at all. I think they're all in.
Because
I think they're
that
both.
Mark Crowley isn't listening. In the next
he's
room.
listening. You can tell because that's when he flashes up the test pattern. Wednesday, 38 degrees, and then get this: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And remember, Lisa says anything out further than 3 days is really just guessing. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, snow, and 30, 28, 32, and all that other stuff. We've added this to our list of things. This is document number 40 in our ongoing list of documents that are going to prove that this whole thing is a big scam. And at some point, Billy and I will be able to self-proclaim we are meteorologists.
Yeah, we're going to wait until we get to 1,000 pages, and then I think we own it by osmosis. We get to 1,000 pages of forecast, and then we just say we are.
We do need an intern, by the way, to generate that Excel spreadsheet that's going to show how faulty this whole process is and how much they change from day to day.
That and the feet massages, because I'm missing that.
Well, I'm not sure I want an intern to touch my feet. I'm not sure any intern wants to touch my feet for that matter.
See, you're not dreaming big enough.
Billy, did you have a good weekend?
Oh, thanks for asking. It was a crazy weekend. Have a major grievance. Yeah, I did some stuff with the Snakes.
We'll get to the grievances.
Yeah, I had a huge grievance. Fascinating soccer. Absolutely amazing soccer, both Friday and Saturday. Just unbelievable things that happened. So drama, history. There's a thing in where you talk about, there's a conversation inside of the world of soccer that in many ways soccer is a metaphor for life, that it is difficulty and challenges. And there's difficulty and challenges and things you have to overcome. And it's interspersed with these unbelievable moments of joy, these goals, these tackles, the idea of, hey, those when your kids are born, when you're married, when you graduate, you have these instances in your life of unbelievable outpourings of emotion. And that on this level is what soccer delivers.
Now, are you witnessing it, Billy, or are you participating in it? Like, did you cry when?
No, but I did jump off the couch and yell and scream a couple of times.
Did you?
No,
you jumped?
Yeah.
You jumped the couch?
I did. Yeah, I did. I absolutely did, because you get caught up in the emotion. Now, I will have to admit, I giggled a little bit when Cristiano cried. A little bit, because
it's interesting. It's very nothing is sweeter than the taste of your opponent's tears. But
the part of this is that he has been a pain in the rear end at Manchester United for the past season and a half. And just before the World Cup, he drops this interview with his friend Piers Morgan that is so self-serving, and it basically forces his release from Manchester United. And inside the interview, he brags about, all these clubs want me and all these people want me and Manchester just wouldn't let me go. Well, since he has left Manchester United at the beginning of the World Cup, it has been crickets. And there's one Saudi Arabian team that's offering him a pile of cash. But nothing else really has come of it. And now his dream of the World Cup has crashed down around him. And I'm sorry, you somewhat deserve this. He engineered
this
his
is a karma
exit.
thing, is
yeah,
what
it
you're
is.
saying.
He engineered this exit from Manchester United. He's been a whiny little pain in the rear end for the last season and a half for them. So go. Be gone. Go prove that you're the greatest somewhere else. And I take a personal glee in the fact that both Luka Modric and Lionel Messi both are going forward in the tournament while Cristiano goes home, because they're all 37. And I think that's great.
Somebody just texted in, OMG, look at Bill.
I know. Who would have thought this should not be on camera? I mean, look at this. There's nothing that we should be doing with this. This is a bad decision.
I also monitored from a distance the Morocco game because I thought it was incredible. It was harder to stay up on France-England because the little guy, Grammy, had a doubleheader in basketball. And God bless him, he's playing up on this 8th grade team with his bestie buddy who's also a 7th grader. And man, you can just tell the teams that have been together and the teams that are kind of the island of misfit toys like ours is. And I love the effort, and this kid, he just has no quit in him. And so this was an incredibly long weekend of sports. Here's how it went down. Friday, from about 4 until 9:30 at night was the district wrestling tournament for Douglas County. Yeah. And I know Graham was just so he was so worked up over wanting to do well, and he keeps saying, I want to win this, I want to win. I love that about him. But he goes in, and there are just kids you can tell that just have some more skills. They don't have more heart. Nobody has more heart. Nobody can pin this kid, and that's great. But there were 2 guys that he faced. He ended up winning a couple matches, lost a couple matches, and didn't end up placing in the top 3. And I could just tell, man, it broke his heart. there was one kid in particular, and I try to keep myself from getting too personal with the kids because I don't want to blame them at 13 or 12 for what is clearly something that has been inculcated in them from their coaches or their parents. But there was this one kid that just could not pin Graham. He was up on him on points, and he starts like cranking on his neck in a way that even the ref had to intervene. And I had seen his coach kind of coaching that ahead of time. And I thought, man, if something were to ever happen, I'm picturing myself, Billy, I'm either doing this show from a jail cell.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we have to have somebody filling in for our first thing. It was that bad. But he, of course, when this comes back in podcast, if he ever listens to this, and he won't, he'll be like, I can't believe you told people this, Dad. But he cried a little bit, and I remember telling him, man, good. Feel bad about this. Go all Cristiano on this thing, Ronaldo, whatever. And then just use it to get better. And so he bounced back, and then doubleheader basketball the next day where they went into, I think, each game either a score behind or a score up, and then got crushed in the second half. And then yesterday was another wrestling tournament. And oh man, I don't know. I just love this kid because all he wants to do is to compete, and he does it in such a good sportsmanship way. He ended up taking third in this tournament. I know he won it first. Yeah. He
really good.
His first match, he was up on a kid 7-2 going into the second period. He made a mistake. Kid gets on behind him, puts him down on the mat, and then his headgear slipped off, and it slipped around his neck. And there's no stopping it unless it becomes dangerous. And apparently the ref didn't think it was dangerous. And Graham admits, he's like, I got panicked. I got scared because it was choking me. And then the kid ended up getting the better of him, and it broke his heart too. But then he came back and crushed the next three people, like first round pins every time.
Wow.
And I said, whatever that is that you found in that's going to serve you in the next tournament, because he is a pensive guy. You know what I mean? Like he tries to assess and understand the other wrestler. But then I said, and his coach was telling him this too, he's like, listen, you have to match aggression with aggression. That kid that beat you has very few skills, but he's super strong and he throws people around. You have to match that kind of aggression. And he did the next three matches, and it paid off. And I'm like, see, son, this is all just learning stuff. This is only he's at the end of his first full calendar year of wrestling.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was a lot of great stuff. And then, of course, for the first time in years, I did not start off watching the Broncos game. I just thought Broncos, Chiefs, people offered me tickets, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't invest in a team that simply refuses to make the changes it needs to be successful. It's like we left the station with a team that was never going to win more than 3 games, and along the way that's been borne out, and we've just said, oh, well, we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, it was tough. I actually went up and took the dog for a 45-minute walk during the game just because I just couldn't handle it. We were down 20-0. I'm like, this is stupid. What am I doing here? Why am I wasting this time in front of the game? So I did watch the tail end of it and watch us manage to.
They came back.
Again,
I was proud about the heart and stuff. Ripien, I was really proud, but come on, man. I mean, this is, at the end of the day, it spells just like all the other losses. It's not like, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I'm watching the end of it, and we're coming back, and we're like, oh, we could tie this. I didn't think we were going to tie it. I'm like, oh, this will be interesting, but I didn't think we had a prayer of tying it. I figured that at some point or another, we are going to find a way to trip over our shoes. We are going to find a way to walk smack into the rake.
Of course we did.
Whatever was going to happen. And of course we did. We absolutely did. So, well, that was disappointing.
When you think back on the weekend, Billy, as we get ready to hit that first break, and then we'll come back with, of course, the most produced, highest quality part of the show. That, of course, is the Thorpe Report, and you choose the news. What's the big story for you?
Over the weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there were a couple. One, it is difficulties with Christmas shopping, and then a huge pain in the rear end grievance that we will have to get to.
We'll have to get to that.
Yeah, that was the big story over the weekend. Also, we went over to my mom's house yesterday and helped her trim the tree and make cookies. So my mom does the whole thing about, she hand makes the dough and everything else. And and we have cookie cutters that we used when I was a kid. So this is kind of a tradition, and the kids really get into it, and they have a lot of fun.
In the shape of a pentangle or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Snakes, perhaps.
Yeah, well, there are some that, look like hearts, and some look like, angels, and you've got Christmas trees and some other stuff.
These are sugar cookies?
Yeah, sugar cookies.
Okay, and are you putting that kind of awesome frosting on it, like drawing
Well, see, the thing is, the frosting comes next week. So we'll frost the cookies next week. Yeah, we make the cookies one week, then we go back the next week and frost them. It's really fun. And we've been doing it as a tradition for years since the kids were little. Now it's much less messy. That is the one positive.
Because of the kids.
Yeah.
They have got hand-eye coordination.
Exactly. And they don't throw flour at each other when they get mad. So.
Wait a minute. Now that sounds like fun.
Oh, but it's so messy. So, yeah, that was the big adventure of the weekend. It was really fun. Had a great time yesterday with my mom. So that was nice.
Other than the sports stuff, I will concede, folks, I did this. Someone just texted in, Billy talks with his hands. Yep.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
it.
You have no idea. This is why this whole video thing, horrible idea.
I took two.
Really
the part I'm worried about is we're going to be mid-collar, and I'm going to go 2 knuckles into my nose or something. Like, what is that up there? You know what I mean? And that will become the screenshot.
Well, I had this thing where it's like, my nose is itching. Am I on camera? Well, I am, but I'm just going to scratch it anyway. What am I going to do? I worry
about going full Jeffrey Tubin. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, am I on camera? Mark, you told me. Turn it on. I took the kids, 2 of the kids, 2 of the kids that were willing, to a Christmas movie.
Oh, nice. What one?
Violent Night.
I've been very curious about that. I'm curious.
Go do it. Go do it. Listen, there is certainly there's some gore. It's not as gratuitous as it might have been.
Okay, fair enough.
But there were times where, in my opinion, it was laugh out loud funny. And there was just some stuff where at one point I'm sitting next to Graham and I'm like going, oh, and he puts his hand up over my mouth and he's like, Dad, you're so loud. Please stop it. I'm like, oh my God, he's becoming self-aware. Like before this, it wouldn't have mattered. Now he's like, Dad, you are so loud. I'm like, but it's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
But it's a good story. It's a Christmas story. It's like it's kind of in that Home Alone meets Die Hard meets Current Blood Effects. I don't know how else to describe it, but
fair enough.
It was entertaining and it was different. And anymore when I go to a movie, all I care about is it different? If it's just another cookie cutter, and I love Marvel, but a Marvel movie or Avatar 12, which, by the way, I'm anxious to see the Avatar Broken Water or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Breaking Wind, something like that.
But something. Yeah. Wind Walker.
Yeah.
It's
Water
new.
World,
it's
something.
different. I haven't seen anything quite like it before. John Leguizamo was on there. It was entertaining. If you're going to go, don't take anyone under the age of whatever Graham is, and I think he's 13. Don't take anyone under the age.
Now, I like the addition of John Leguizamo because I really like him as a villainous actor. I think he has a real flair for the right type of over-the-top villain. So the fact that he is the antagonist, I like this a lot. So
he does a nice job with it, and he's been in so many different movies. I never have met the gentleman, but I did go to D.C. recently, and I was walking along the reflecting pool, and they had to divert me and everyone else around the reflecting pool because there was a camera crew there doing it. Was John Leguizamo with the Lincoln Memorial in the backdrop, and he was talking about something I don't know because they wouldn't let me get close enough to hear. But, of course, typical ugly American Hollywood fan, I'm just like staring. Like, is he ever going to look over here? And I want to wave and be like, loved you in John Wick. You are. Anyway.
His performance in Spawn is underrated. I'm just saying.
Well, Spawn was, again, a movie that woulda, coulda, shoulda done a lot better. I can't explain its failure at the box office, but otherwise, another one of those
superhero movies go nuts. But
yeah, I know. There's something about it. Looking forward to Deadpool 3, whenever that comes out. Also, Creed 3.
Oh yeah,
they have the big billboard thing or whatever that's called, the promotional thing at the lobby at the theater. Can't wait to see that. I don't know why the kids love the Rocky movies, but they do, and I think that means they're American. Listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut away for a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined, still on camera, by our good friend Billy Thorpe for the Thorpe Report, which, as you know, this is the first time you're watching us or hearing this. The Thorpe Report is legitimate news.
Yeah.
The You Choose the News is legitimater.
Oh, so much more legitimate.
Legitimate. Whatever the version of that word is, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's really where the fun kicks in. And then with whatever time that we're granted by the FCC, we're going to get into Grievance Monday because I want to hear Billy's gripe on this. I have my own.
So mad.
I have my own Gazette.
That was fun this morning.
Oh my goodness! I'm so glad we weren't on live there. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Mark will have to tell us during a break. I think you can use profanity on YouTube because that's where it was going. I can't do it on.
You used a string of words that I had not heard put
Since
in
the
that
Navy.
particular order. It was actually very descriptive and also very, you could tell anger, but it was also very descriptive. It was a unique boxcar of curse words that I applaud you for, sir. They were fantastic. Well done.
Oh, well,
It was good
what
this
can
morning.
you
Yes.
do? Listen, stick around. Again, if you haven't yet gone to YouTube, why not? Now, the only thing I've had someone text in here is, how can you have it on your phone and watch and be able to text at the same time? Because they want to text in. And what that means is, you know that you can reach out to us both at 710knus.com and on the 710knus app. But my favorite is when you call in at 303-696-1971. That's the trick. How can you watch YouTube on your phone while calling in? I don't think you can, but you can give it a shot and let us know. A couple more texts. People are like, I'm addicted. This is going to be Stalker Town right here. I'm going to. All right, listen, we're going to cut away for a long overdue break. It's George Brauchler on The George Show. Stick around. 710 KNUS. George Brauchler right back with you here on the George Show 710 KNUS. We are live on YouTube today and every day thereafter, as long as the technology gods let it happen. Have had a bunch of texts already, which, as you know, you can hit us on the 710knus.com website, and you can text us and email us there. Still efforting the email thing. Text is just so easy because it's right up here. And then, of course, the 710 KNUS app, which is how I listen to the radio. No knock on AM. It's just clearer. It's a little bit delayed there, but I do it there. The other thing is 303-696-1971. That's a number. If you haven't memorized it yet, why not? I have. You can give us a call and talk about any of the topics or the things that come up over the course of the day. Someone texting in, I'm on YouTube, can't find the video. A little more information, please.
We've been shadow banned.
I think, as it turns out, Elon Musk just purchased YouTube and is now, I jest. I think it's at the 710 KNUS YouTube channel. That's what Mark Crowley says. And honestly, Mark is right about 100% of the time. I'm going to say 99% because I'm still waiting to see if some of the things he said turn out to be true. But other than that, look for the 710 KNUS website or a YouTube channel, and then you should be able to find us there. Now, listen, I promise this. I want to deliver. It is time to turn the reins over to my camera buddy right here through the glass. But for you, it's right next to me, and hopefully he'll fill up the whole screen. It's our friend, William Thorpe.
Oh, put friend in quotation marks.
Air quotes. And they
morning.
can actually see the air quotes now
I
when
know
I do
they
it.
can. That is crazy. Oh, good morning, sir. Taking a look at our local news, a powerful storm is expected to roll into Colorado beginning this afternoon, dropping up to a foot of snow in the mountains. We're going to get 1 to 4 inches in the Denver area by the time it moves out of our state.
Sure. Let's see.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be 100 degrees tomorrow.
It could be. It's blizzard conditions are possible along the plains Monday evening into Tuesday. The front's going to bring snow, which could be heavy at times to Colorado's southern mountain range before moving into the northern and central high country. Blizzard conditions can be expected northeast of Denver across the northeast quarter of Colorado on Tuesday, and road closures are likely going to be expected along I-76. And there's a winter storm watch that goes into effect for a portion of our northeast part of the state that starts tonight and goes through tomorrow evening. Elsewhere, police have arrested a 21-year-old man in connection with a triple homicide. On Sunday, Aurora police announced the arrest of Christopher Martinez on 3 counts of first-degree murder. Investigators say that family members discovered the bodies of 3 adults, 2 women, and 1 man inside the home at the 1500 block of Evanston Street in Aurora's Willow Park neighborhood. Police say that all 3 victims sustained an apparent gunshot wound. Each had their own wounds, not just, one guy shot once and went through 3 people.
That's bad.
Yeah, that is. According to police, Martinez is known to the victims who have not yet been officially identified. Bodies were discovered Saturday night around 7 p.m. This weekend, we also had a pedestrian that was hit and killed by a driver on I-70 in Arvada, and that happened on Sunday evening. Police said the crash happened just after 7 p.m. westbound I-70 right near Wadsworth Boulevard. Driver did remain at the scene. No other information about the crash immediately available. 1 person is dead after a crash that closed the intersection of South Buckley Road and East Mansfield Avenue for several hours on Saturday night. This happened right around 8:45 p.m. The Aurora Police Department received calls about a 2-car crash at the intersection of South Buckley Road and East Mansfield Avenue. Callers reported there was a car on fire and the driver is still inside. When officers arrived on the scene, they found a Dodge Charger engulfed in flames and a Honda Accord. Police say the driver of the Charger died at the scene. The driver of the Accord remained at the scene and was transported to the hospital with minor injuries. They say a passenger in the Charger was able to escape before it caught fire and was transported to the hospital with minor injuries. Passenger from the Accord fled the scene and has not yet been identified. Police say initial investigation found the Honda was traveling north on South Buckley Road. Dodge was making a left turn from eastbound East Mansfield Road onto southbound Buckley Road, according to the APD, and they collided at the intersection. Also, Denver leaders are asking local organizations to step up and provide shelter for the migrants as the numbers are continuing to grow. City and County of Denver is calling on faith groups, nonprofit organizations, and businesses to provide any available space that could be used to shelter these immigrants. Michael Hancock said in a statement, "We have an urgent need for more space to shelter these individuals, and we're asking for help. Organizations that can help are asked to call Denver's Emergency Operations Center."
Hang on, there's one other thing, Billy. A friend of mine, friend of the show, has sent us the email solicitation that has gone out to every single Denver City and County employee that also asks them to volunteer to help out at these shelters and all this other stuff. It's very interesting that they and I wonder if there isn't some subtle coercion that's being felt there. Like the boss comes around, hey, who helped out?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's kind of like that idea where they say, "Oh, we have an anonymous survey about your workplace." Anonymous, my rear end. I don't believe that.
It says here, listen to this, Billy. This is how people listen. Billy needs to move his trash can. because you can see it in the screenshot.
Yeah.
This is what we can expect to see, and this will be the real test of our listeners. Are they the kind of listeners that'll say you have something in your teeth, Billy? Or are these the guys that let you go the whole 4 hours and then tell you have something in your teeth?
Oh, and here comes Mark Crowley. Look, wave to the audience. There he is. He's going to get the trash can.
I
always thought that it would be in there, and we got to think, what's in the trash can?
That was Mark Crowley. That's like like seeing a unicorn, folks. You can't really spot him in the wild. He's camouflage. You can see that sweater blends right in with Billy's wall.
It does. I try to do the same thing.
Throughout the show, you may see Mark's head, in essence, floating around Billy. No, that's him.
Exactly.
That's his full body.
Yeah, he's that good at it. Well, as of Saturday, we have 152 migrants housed at the city's emergency shelters. Another 48 have been relocated to a church-run shelter. 41 more arrived at a local homeless shelter overnight. 73 migrants are preparing to connect with family or friends and transition out of city-managed emergency shelters. 13 have left our city-managed shelter on their own. And according to the mayor's office, they were not sent by any government entity. They were all NGOs, so non-government
That makes it okay. That make no impact on the community.
Of course not. Yeah, absolutely. And, this we were talking about off air. A new Colorado law is going to require you and I to pay 10 cents to use a single-use plastic or paper bag at the grocery store starting, again, January 1st. The state law mimics ordinances in cities throughout our state that already require a fee for bags, but it is only for 1 year. Next year, the plastic baggies go bye-bye, no 10 cents, and you got to either carry your stuff out in your pockets or bring a backpack or something. I know.
I don't understand.
They want me to bring my bags into the store, but I walk around a store with an open backpack and suddenly I'm a suspect.
Oh, you know what? It gets worse than that,
I might
Billy.
be a suspect, but still.
It says that next year, January of 2024, a municipality or county can actually increase the fee over 10 cents per bag.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're trying to make us not do that.
Listen, the whole idea here is that, and I think folks ought to remember this, if you want less of something, tax it, right? Like we've said that. You would think that the same knuckleheads that put this in place would be like, we tax the hell out of small businesses too. Does that mean we're getting less small businesses?
I wonder how this is going.
Yeah, but they don't do that.
Also, we're going to talk a little bit right now about House Bill 1343 that is going to require all eggs sold at grocery stores starting January of 2023 to come from cage-free hens. Yes, Colorado egg producers need to make required changes as well. They have to include enrichments, nest boxes, dust bathing, cage-free housing, and allow hens to exhibit their natural behavior.
What?
Yeah, penalties could cost the store or producer up to $1,000 per violation.
What am I going to do with all of my administrative segregation hen cells behind the house?
Yeah, I know. I have no idea what you're going to do about that. It's unfortunately, yes.
They all have to be free-range eggs?
Yes. Your hen plantation is going to have to go the way of the dodo.
Unbelievable.
I know. It's ridiculous. Telling you, the man doesn't want you to make money.
Hands off my eggs. My body, my eggs. Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think so. I think that's what we're talking about. And oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
Yes, it is time.
Buckle up.
God. It is time. What's everybody's favorite radio news game show? You Choose the News, where we scour the interwebs to find ridiculously stupid stories and then give them even more ridiculous headlines to play this dumb radio news game. Why? Well, because we are sponsored. Yes, today we are proudly sponsored by Breckenridge Distillery. Yes, you may know them as the powerful makers of the Mile High blend of whiskey, but they have two new tastes of Mile High Denver Broncos whiskey for you to try. We'll get to those in a moment or two, but first, we must play the game. Alrighty, sir. Here are your choices today. Headline number 1, at least it's not called Chinese democracy. Headline number 2, man shot 192 times by himself. Headline number 3, city surprised by water coming from the sky. And headline number 4, a brand new kind of mule. Alrighty, sir, your choices again are, at least it's not called Chinese democracy, man shot 192 times by himself, city surprised by water coming from the sky, and a new kind of mule.
I have to know how a guy shot himself 192 times.
Well,
you'd figure after 100, he'd be like, that's it, I've done enough.
Oddly enough, Richard Davis says he did it on purpose.
Huh?
Yes, in a new story coming out about this man wearing green hat, his spectacles, his ear protectors. He proudly on camera loads a Magnum 44 into the chamber of the gun and then hands his car keys to another man and says, here, just in case this doesn't go right. He then rolls up his sleeves, points the gun at his chest, and pulls the trigger. Yes, Richard Davis is yet shooting himself again, but the bullet was stopped by body armor. See, Davis was the inventor of modern-day bulletproof vest and shot himself at point-blank range to prove that it worked a total of 192 times. He's an ex-Marine, a bankrupt pizzeria owner, and born showman. He is a rags to riches to rags story to crazy. Yes, he's a little off there. But what they're doing is they actually have created a new show that's going to be out there about him. It's called Second Chance. So what he's going to be doing is talking about the company that he created, talking about body armor, because, well, he wasn't thinking about body armor, worried about our fellow men in blue. He wasn't worried about our fighting forces. The reason that he basically decided that he needed to create body armor was because he had a shootout with criminals against whom he was seeking revenge. He suffered bullet wounds to his head and his leg, and he said, know what? If I was wearing some body armor, I could have really smoked those guys. So he left Detroit, opened up a small factory in Central Lake in northern Michigan, hired hundreds of people, and became the town's biggest employer. He was seen as a savior of the struggling town and even paid for their annual fireworks show. He even hosted shooting competitions at his personal reign. But then things went bad when a stray bullet ricocheted through the woods into an elderly woman's home.
What?
Davis allegedly tried to bribe and then intimidate a teenager into taking the blame instead of himself. And so he got sued and lost the
Tell me that the name of the body armor company is Revenge Body Armor, because that is perfect.
That is perfect. All right, your second choice this morning, sir. At least it's not called Chinese democracy, city surprised by water coming from the sky, or new kind of mule.
Mule, please, for 1,000.
New kind of mule. Here, we're going to start out in China a little bit because...
I thought we avoided China.
Oh, not when they're trying to smuggle stuff into other countries. Yes, that is very profitable for China. And today, we're going to be talking about customs authorities who detained a woman who was trying to smuggle processors and iPhones. Yes, she had stuffed 200 Intel processors and 9 iPhones into a fake prosthetic belly. The event occurred in Zhuhai, where a supposedly pregnant woman attempted to return to mainland China from Macau. The perpetrator claimed that she was 5 months pregnant, but her belly was huge, according to the alleged gestation time, and she was walking effortlessly, which caused a lot of suspicion.
Really?
After careful inspection, the customs agents later discovered she had used duct tape to fix and hide smuggled goods beneath a fake silicone belly. I wish my belly was fake in silicone.
Hold on. A couple things. One, I'm just so thankful you didn't say prison purse. I really am so thankful because I'm doing the math as you're reciting it, and I'm like, no one's large intestine is that flexible. There's no way. And then 2, another texture here. And this is probably a reference to my shirt. By the way, folks, I don't normally wear a button-up shirt here.
Oh, yeah.
Normally, I wear like just a sweatshirt, and I may go back to that. But I wear this.
But when it's sunny, it's a tank top because sun's out, guns out.
It's actually better than that. It's a tank top that's a midriff. It's cut off.
Yeah.
But this one says,
and no one would even think you have a belly piercing.
Might want to button up a bit or go full blown 80s and add a few gold chains. So. If this is going to be the kind of feedback that we get from the viewers / listeners, I don't know. I'm just going to go back to the sweatshirt thing, and it'll be the same one. I'm going to do the same one every day for a month and see if anybody notices.
Oh, I like that. That's a good idea.
Billy, what a wonderful story. Thank you.
You're welcome. Final choice this morning, sir. At least it's not called Chinese democracy or city surprised by water falling from the sky.
Water.
City surprised by water falling from the sky. Here we're going to the great city of Phoenix, Arizona, and a neighborhood near 15th Avenue and McDowell Road, where over the weekend they had a little bit of a surprise. Now, they have been doing something safety-wise. It gets really super hot in Phoenix over the summer.
I've heard that.
And what they had done is the streets in this neighborhood were part of the Cool Pavement pilot program. That doesn't mean your streets are like super cool and all of a sudden neat and all the kids want to be them. No, it's actually that the Cool Pavement is a special type of paint that is put down over the sidewalks in order to make sure they don't absorb as much heat during the summer. However, the geniuses responsible for painting the sidewalk evidently didn't think whether or not it was water soluble, because once the rain started to fall, the coating became a nightmare for the neighbors. Neighborhoods say what happened is everything basically began to peel. You got oil that started running down the street. If you tried to walk on it, it was so slippery you actually would fall. A child riding his scooter tried to hit the brake to slow down, slippery fish-tailed and shot forward onto the ground. So it's absolutely awful. It literally just starts peeling up as if it's old paint just coming up and curling up and coming off of there, and you get the oils running lane down the road. In a statement obtained by the Arizona family, the city's street transportation department said they are working to resolve the problem. The department did apply the seal coat, but some reason it didn't adhere properly to the road. A contractor relocated out of the area and then came back in. They had a different contractor. He came in and did a different sealant. So they thought the mix of two sealants would actually prevent it from washing away in the rain, and they were wrong. So the city of Phoenix sent out a cleanup crew with street sweepers and is working to create a solution. The coating is made of water, asphalt, some polymers, and other fillers that are bonded. Of the 73 miles in the 17 neighborhoods that were treated, the city claims there are a handful of areas in which the coating is creating an issue. Yeah.
This is all taxpayer money. Now, it's not Colorado taxpayer money, so I really don't care. But this, again, is proof that government, if given any amount of leash, will hang you with it, because there's just no way you can explain how this could have gone so awry. Like there was no test street,
I know,
or something like that.
Does this come up in the water?
Yeah, let's just do it and see how it plays out. Another texter, Billy. This again, and I know it's coming from a good place. When was the last time your skin saw sunlight? That was one. I responded, next summer.
Yeah, next summer. That'll be the last time, yes.
Here's another one. Friendly grammar correction for Billy. Oh, Billy. This could be coming from Mullen.
Yeah, sure. What is it?
Here's incorrect. Require I to pay versus require you and I to pay. Those are both incorrect. Correct is require me to pay, require you and me to pay. I presume this is with the 10-cent bag fee.
Yeah, probably is that. And I appreciate that. The thing is, here's the problem, that sometimes I get some of the syllables and the pronunciation things wrong on my words because the voices in here, they go very fast. Yeah. And I can't keep up. So sometimes when I'm just talking, things come out wrong.
What I appreciate is yours are substantive things. Like, hey, Billy, you're saying something.
Yeah.
With me, it's all physical appearance.
They're mocking
My
you.
shirt is buttoned too low.
Yes.
My skin is too translucent or something. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
I think at least for Monday, the launch day, December the 12th, 2022, put it in the books. That is the day that we began to say goodbye to 710 KNUS. And by that, I mean either the city of Denver says it or Billy and I say it. I'm not really sure how it's going.
And we also have to say goodbye to You Choose the News. Yes, that is the end of today's amazing fake news game. We are proudly sponsored, by Breckenridge Distillery. They are the makers of Mile High Blend, Denver Broncos whiskey. However, after yesterday, they are trying out 2 new flavors that you can test yourself. Go out to Breckenridge Distillery and ask them for their Anticipation whiskey. That's the one in which you buy the new quarterback and you think everything's going to go well. And then when you actually get into the season, you get to follow the follow-up. The chaser is Disappointment whiskey. So yes, go ask them for their Anticipation and Disappointment whiskey. Tell them which one is your favorite. They may not actually exist, but good luck to you. Back to you,
Billy, I love our sponsors, and thank you for going out there and soliciting them.
Oh, you're
we just
welcome.
need them to write bigger
This was just
checks.
all about drinking. That's, that's what it was.
Listen, speaking of things that you can listen to and have great anticipation and expectation for them and leave really feeling quite disappointed, there's the Advanced Colorado podcast that Michael Fields and I do every week. Now, we've taken a few weeks off since the bloodletting that was the midterm elections, but we're back with a vengeance here. We've got some wrap-up stuff, some more things. So if you haven't subscribed already, go to Spotify, Apple Fi, whatever Fi there is out there that's your platform for podcasting. Find Advanced Colorado Rundown, and you'll have a chance to listen to all the back issues and editions, listen to some of the things that are upcoming, and then you'll get a sense of not only what's going on, but maybe what to expect. Now, in terms of what to expect for the show, at 7:03, we're going to be joined by the brand new interim chief of police for the Aurora Police Department. And depending upon how this little dating thing goes between he and the city over the next however many months, he could be the full-time permanent chief. That's my expectation. I had a chance to meet Art last week. He has agreed to come on air, even though he's not in town with us at the moment, and we'll do one of his first big-time interviews here in the metro area. Then at 8:03, Patty Calhoun. She started and now is the chief editor, has been forever, of Westword, which I think launched in 1977. That's 20 years before I was born. No, I'm kidding. It really wasn't. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to be visited at least on the phone by someone that you know from my family. She has just crossed over from her teenage years into 20, and she's paid really close attention to a lot of the current events going on. We'll get caught up with Amanda in the 9 o'clock hour, and then of course in between, all the topics of the day, all the good stuff, all the silly stuff, and then you at 303-696-1971 and 710 KNUS. Going to cut away for a break and come back. Whatever time we have left, we can do Grievance Monday, or we might save it for Post Chief. I just really want to hear Billy's grievance. I have my own. It is right here. George Brauchler on the George Show, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
George Brauchler right back with you here at the very end of the 6 o'clock hour here on 710 KNUS. It's our first YouTube available show. You can go check it out at the 710 KNUS channel. Someone said if you just search for 710 KNUS and then my name, good luck spelling that thing, you get brought to it. Now, we've run out of time for Grievance Monday, but don't worry. We're going to do Grievance Monday. We're just going to do it after our interview with the interim chief of police for Aurora, Art Acevedo. Do yourselves a favor. Look out west right now. That is one beautiful sunrise. It is just the perfect set of colors, a little orangey pinky in there. Take a look at it before it goes away over the next minute or two, and stick around for us. We'll be right back with you here with the Chief of Police for Aurora, Art Acevedo. It's George Brauchler right here on The George Show, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler right back with you here at 710 KNUS. Waiting on Chief Acevedo. I texted him again in the interim here. I'm certain it's because he's transitioning from the East Coast to normal human time, which is the mountain time, of course. Listen, here's what we've got coming up once we get the chief on. I want to talk to him a lot about the state of the city, the state of the police department, upcoming challenges. I also, speaking of upcoming challenges, the texts that have come in here, and thank you, by the way, for correcting me on this. Apparently, I don't recall saying this, but that's pretty true of just about everything that comes out of my mouth. I said, look out west for the sunrise. Now, as many of you know, the sun doesn't rise in the west. I'm very aware of that, at least now that I am. Thank you for pointing that out. So it is look to these. If you just spent the last 5 minutes missing the sunrise because you were staring intently at the mountains, that's probably a comment as much on you as on me. So please forgive me for that. There's some text. I can't read some of these. And for those who are like, hey, your music break or whatever the background is, and it's like, hey, we wanted something more. Mark Crowley, our IT guy in charge here, has offered to have you come in and help make it work better or make it something more to your liking. I told him I didn't want to say that on air because the risk, of course, was that you would take him up on that offer, and pretty soon someone's standing outside the building with some bottle of something covered up in a brown paper bag and maybe a hatchet hidden on their body somewhere. So that could happen right now. And two other things. Billy had commented off air that over the course of this journey together, as we do YouTube and the radio people won't see it and they won't care. But if you go to YouTube, the magic here is that we're going to have baseball hats on that we have. I don't have a collection of hundreds or thousands, but I have a collection of tens of hats that I'm particularly fond of, some of them still in the plastic wrapper. But the one that I'm wearing today, of course, are the Tampa Tarpons from a trip I took out to Tampa Bay, and I think I was giving a presentation to some law enforcement agency out there. I can't remember, and I want to do that. As you know, we do the show remotely a bunch, and that'll continue on into 2023 as well as I continue to go out there and talk about stuff.
And you showed up normally like you do here, not showered or dressed, and they said, "Here, sir, wear this hat."
That was almost true. Yeah. No, but there's when you go out there, they have a single A club, the Tampa Tarpons. They have a heck of a stadium out there, and it's the Steinbrenner something because they are a farm team for God's favorite baseball team, the New York Yankees, who re-signed, by the way, Aaron Judge. I love that story as much as any in sports, Billy, because here's a guy that they tried to offer real money to, right? Yeah. Like, we will pay you, I think it was $218 million. And he said, a hard pass. You just sit back and watch what I do this year and let's renegotiate. And oh my sweet goodness, 9 years, like $360 million.
Nice job.
I mean, and you could have been injured at any time, and it could have been like, well, here's a cup of coffee. And instead, dude just blows it up and goes back to the Yankees.
So you were wearing the hat of the Tarpons.
The Tarpons, that's it. Nice. How about you? What you got going on your dome?
This is actually unique. It's a U.S. men's soccer hat. So the emblem right there is U.S. men's soccer, but this is their special edition hat that they did for St. Patrick's Day a couple of years ago. I've got on one side or another, there's a...
For who?
The U.S. men's soccer team. It's the U.S. men's soccer team.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the special St. Patrick's Day edition version. It's the green hat that they did for that version. So yeah, but it's the U.S. men's soccer team. We suck. I'm actually wearing a T-shirt underneath this. It's U.S. men's soccer as well.
Are you doing that? Because we can't see the T-shirt. I'm not going to ask you to pop your top.
Oh God, no,
that's inappropriate.
That's
now we used to be able to do that here in the studio.
Now we can't. Yeah, and I am just for you that are watching at home.
Don't say Tubin.
No. I'm actually wearing my Star Spangled Banner G-string, which is good. Yeah, and if I stand up just right, it'll play the Star Spangled Banner. So. Yeah.
A lot of people could not hear me coughing, but could see me coughing.
I'm so glad I got you there.
Buddy, I don't. The problem is I know what a G-string is, and the visual
I know.
instantly caused the coffee to want to retreat.
Oh, me too.
Right into the trachea. Right in there. Like
it's like putting.
It was trying to kill me. It was trying to save me.
It's like trying to put a swimsuit on a sausage that's like 3 sizes too big. So it's just the swimsuit's like things are going out.
But nonetheless,
it's awful.
All right, I remember the Seinfeld episode. It's shrinkage, Jerry. Oh my sweet goodness. of course,
it's like when you have those stress ball things and it goes and it comes out there. That's what I would look like. You'd get the thing on me and
within
it would just
the
things
last
would be
exchange,
out
you've
places
gone sausage and ball. I don't think that the listeners or the viewers. This is on YouTube. This is a family channel.
Yeah, when you
on
tune
radio,
into the show, this is what you get. This is how you get the full value of what you pay for the show.
That exactly what you pay for the show.
Exactly.
Now, listen, I do want to revisit the topic of this thing. Were you aware of the fact that the legislature, and I believe this was a party fluid Priola vote as well. As you remember, there's a state senator who the Republicans spent tons of money on and went door to door and really helped him to get elected as a Republican. And then the minute things looked bad for Republicans, he popped smoke and ripped off his jersey and put on the other team's jersey.
Surprise, just teasing.
Yeah, surprise!
Yeah.
I'm a Democrat!
Yeah. Bet you couldn't tell.
He helped, I believe, vote for one of these ridiculous bills that says government knows best. And government's going to save us from ourselves, folks. So there's this House bill, 211162, which partially goes into effect less than a month from now on January the 1st, 2023. And I just want to read to you from the Colorado Department of Revenue website their description of it. The act prohibits stores and retail food establishments, I think those are restaurants, from providing single-use plastic carry-out bags to customers. Now, perhaps if the restaurant just simply beats the system by saying, hey, you know what, you can use this bag more than once. Like this is a dual use, a double use one, then maybe they win. Certain retail food establishments and small stores that operate solely in Colorado and have 3 or fewer locations may provide single-use plastic carry-out bags. What?
Yeah, what? What? Yeah.
I also think this is going to end up becoming something like, does that mean Target, right?
Yeah.
Stores. And I get a ton of stuff in plastic bags at store. And by the way, I don't use the Target bags just one time. I don't throw them away because if you're like me, you recognize those are the high quality bags. The garbage you get from Safeway and Kroger, King Soopers and all that, those are the ones that are designed to, you put 3 soup cans in it and you're chasing them down the parking lot, as you know, but not Target. Target has wonderful bags that we reuse all the time. In fact, we have a collection of a jillion of them under the sink in the kitchen because then when you need to send something with a kid somewhere, maybe it's a swimsuit or it's a towel, whatever.
Question from the gallery.
I see a hand.
Yeah,
yes,
question from the gallery.
You, sir, with the thong.
Question, yes.
Yeah.
It's writing up a little bit. Hang on. Okay. Now, a question. You're storing those under the kitchen sink.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How?
Along with one of the kids.
How do you store them, though? I mean, what I want to know is, do you just take them and throw them into another plastic bag?
No.
Are they an amorphous pile? Do you actually wrap them up and tightly into what do you do?
I like putting them all in one bag, but even that poses this challenge. There's a little door hanger thing. I don't know how to describe it, but you put it on one side of the little door that opens to get underneath the sink there, and it will hold. You can jam a billion of them in there, and then you can just reach in and pull one out. I don't know what to call it, but it is the bag thing. It's designed for this.
Yeah.
And that's the mechanism that you use for it.
Oh, good, because the problem that I get is we just kind of stuff them underneath there and in a bag, and it gets all messy, and then we can't do anything with it. However, my mother-in-law has this genius way, and I don't know how she does it. It's some sort of like origami thing where she can stretch the bag out in its long ways, and then she wraps it into a little tiny ball. I mean, it is a tiny ball. She is able to store more plastic bags in a container or in a bag than anybody else I've ever seen in my life.
But then is it usable? Like, can she reach into one sack and pull out another?
You reach in, you just kind of unload it and goes boop, and then it is fantastic. And I do not know what kind of voodoo she does. I have tried to replicate it, and I can't. And it's a little embarrassing. So,
listen, a couple things. Same texters noticed 2 things. One, they love Target bags, but at the same time, they've noticed that I only put the headphones on one ear. That is true. And I can only explain it this way, and it's been this way the whole time I've been on the radio. I just want to be able to hear what's going on outside of this studio and what's in the hallway and stuff like that. It's not because it's a distraction thing. I cannot explain it other than to say I feel like I would be at risk if I was totally immersed in nothing but the radio. Something could be going on outside. Like, I want to be able to hear Mark yell at Billy, you're all going to die, or something like that, so that I can respond more quickly. I don't know what that response looks like because there's no lock on the door here, but it's something. It would give me a few seconds to try to come up with a prayer or something like that. So yeah, I only wear the headphones on one ear, and so far it has served me well so far. Now, do we have a caller, Billy? It's somebody writing a number down. It appears to be, maybe this could be the FCC saying we are discontinuing your on-air production. But at the same time, I don't know what it is. We'll get back to that. So here's the other part of this thing that I want to get your input on. One, how are you going to respond to this? Now, clearly, if you're listening to this station, there's a good chance you're not a person who's like, thank you, government, for figuring out a way to correct my behavior by taxing it. I get that. I understand that. But how are you going to respond to this? Are you going to pay the extra dime? Here's what's coming next year. There's that. Wait for this in 2024. A store may furnish a recycled paper carryout bag or a single-use plastic carryout bag to a customer at the point of sale, as opposed to, I guess, a month later, if the customer pays a fee of 10 cents per bag or a higher fee adopted by the municipality or county in which the store is located. They can only furnish a recycled paper carryout bag to a customer at the point of sale at a fee of 10 cents per bag or higher. That's it. No grocery store, no restaurant, think about Chinese food, folks. Chinese food, it only lives in the single-use plastic bag with all those little cool little Chinese box things that you only get at. That's it. And now you're going to have to be charged 10 cents. The questions that have been coming in on the text are, where does the money go? Well, this is where the money goes. On a quarterly basis, beginning April 1st, of course, April Fool's Day, 2024, 60% of the carryout bag fee revenues go to the municipality or county within which the store is located, and they may retain the remaining 40% of the carryout bag fee revenues. That means that now the restaurant or Kroger gets a 40% of that 10 cents. They get 4 cents on every bag. They get to retain it and keep it. So what they've done is to get their buy-in on compliance by creating a revenue stream. Now, had Safeway just on its own said, we're going to charge you 10 cents a bag, you may have just moved your business over to Kroger or King Soopers, as it were, or Whole Foods or whatever. You can't do that now. Now, they don't get to compete with each other on the bag thing, but they're now given incentive to collect this fee because they get 40% of it. This is government at its worst. And then the other 60% of it goes to your municipality or your county. What do they do with the money? I have no damn idea, folks. My guess is they can spend it on whatever they want, but now it gives them incentive to want to enforce this thing too. All of this is designed purely to change your behavior and the store's behavior. This is government at its worst. I don't know how to combat this thing, but I guess I'm interested in knowing, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to change your shopping habits? Are you going to invest in one of those reusable bag things where you can put all your produce and stuff in? I want to know, what does it do to when you go to produce? When you go to the produce aisle and you want to get like a couple things of celery, stalks of celery, they give you those little plastic bags to pull them out and put the celery in. Same thing with the oranges or the apples or whatever. Then what? Are you getting charged 10 cents a bag for that? Are you going to be allowed to bring your own can't see through it bag to load up fruit in it, and they're just going to trust you at self-checkout to be? Is that it? And how about the germs, man? That reusable bag, there's no requirement that you rub that thing down with all of your COVID-safe wipes. You could have whatever food had been in there time and time and time again, and then you bring it into the store and start loading food into it. What if you load in food and you decide, you know what, I don't want that orange. It turns out that I don't know why my son put that particular rhubarb in there. I'm going to take that thing out. What then? How are you going to respond to the bag thing? 303-696-1971. Interested in getting your feedback on this, how it will change your behavior on this. I want to protest. I just don't know how to do it. I mean, they've created a system here where, once again, government knows best always, and they're going to impact global warming by reducing the number of bags that we have, or just taxing us and allowing this tax to pass through to municipalities or the county. I don't think it's unconstitutional. I just think it's insidious. What I'd like to see is some gutsy county government, like let's say Douglas County, where I live. Let's say the county commissioners got together and said, hey, we're going to take the 60% that gets remitted to us and we're going to give it right back to the businesses in the form of some kind of tax credit. I would love to see that middle finger to the General Assembly right there. Like, we're not going to take it. And I would love to see the stores who collect it give back some sort of a coupon at the end of it. You buy 4 bags, we're going to give you a coupon for whatever it is. We don't want the money that's being forced, that forces us to take it, collect it. By the way, that 40% really is to offset the accounting costs and all the other things that they're going to have to go through to remit to the county and city government. In fact, next time we have either Steve the Beard, Dustin Zvonek, Danielle Jurinsky on the radio from Aurora City Council, I'll ask them what can they do to beat the system on this thing, because they are very entrepreneurial minded, but at the same time, they're small government minded too. Here's some text coming in. You can buy your own plastic shopping bags by the thousands off Amazon and use those. Boy, that's genius. I like that. I wonder if you can use your own bags. I guess you must be able to for the reusable. Here's one. It is my understanding those produce bags will be at no charge. Okay, my response. 1, when they get rid of plastic bottles, I will pay for bags. 2, at King's, they can put the food back in the cart and request a carryout. That is smart, and I thought of that same thing. What if you just said, no, I don't want any bags at all. Please load up my cart with all of the individual cans and oranges and whatever, and then please take it out to my car for me and load it into the back of my car. At some point, though, you end up getting hosed because you have to get out of the car and you have to unload it and put it all in there. Listen, here's what we're going to do. We just now have Chief Acevedo on the line, but we're at that mark where I want to cut away for a quick break so that we don't have to talk for the chief for 2 minutes and then cut away for a break. We're going to come back with him at about 7:24. The texts keep pouring in on this thing. Good gravy. A lot of thoughts on the bags. We'll get to that as well. We'll talk about that with Patty Calhoun too. I'd love to know what her position on this is. Stick around. Chief Art Acevedo with Aurora PD. When we come back, it's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today. Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite.
George Brauchler right back with you here on the George Show 710 KNUS. Where it's at is right here on our VIP line. Thank you for joining us. Interim Chief of Police for the Aurora Police Department, Art Acevedo. Sir, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on with y'all.
Yeah, I understand that you really blamed the feds for the delay, and I appreciate that because that's what I do. With just about everything that happens, I blame the feds.
Hey, the only thing they're quick at sometimes is collecting your taxes.
That's it. They will get you back. By the way, if they owe you a refund, it could take weeks or months, but the collection has to be instantaneous. Sir, first off, no idea why you would agree to take on this particular job other than, in some ways, and I'll be the first to make this connection, you are the Deion Sanders right now for the Aurora Police Department, right? I mean, like, you had Chief Oates, which was huge, by the way. 6 months of Chief Oates is great. So you're not quite coming in the way Deion did, but you've been given a huge task. Before we get to how you're going to tackle it, though, I want folks to get to know you a little bit better. Tell us where you grew up. And I'm talking about things like what'd you do in high school? Were you a sports guy? Were you a band guy? Winds, strings? Tell us it all. Tell us the story.
All right. Well, you know what? I was born in Cuba, and in 1968, and on 12/25/68, Lyndon Johnson had the freedom flights, and like my dad told us, we received the greatest gift of all, and that's the freedom of the United States. So we immigrated here as political refugees, went to Southern California. We processed in Miami at the House of Liberty or the Freedom House for about 5 days, landed on 12/31. And my dad didn't want to raise us in Miami because he wanted us to become American. He wanted us to learn about this great country. Grew up in Southern California outside of Los Angeles, and grew up wanting to be a police officer or a West Point graduate or a prosecutor, imagine that.
Oh, man.
And
wait a minute, where was high school? It was outside of Los Angeles? What did you do when you were in high school?
Yeah, in El Monte. I was a wrestler. I did Kajikuma karate for 9 years growing up. Was a high school journalist, and just had a great childhood back in those days. I remember being the only kid that didn't speak English when I started elementary school. It was kind of a fun adventure. And then when I turned 21, I joined the California Highway Patrol, CHIPS.
Wow.
And, spent about 21 years with them, working primarily in Los Angeles.
Hold on. Did was your street name Ponch? Did you have a code name?
No, my nickname was Ace.
Nice.
Ace was my nickname. Everybody has a nickname, so in law enforcement.
How ever present was the Chip show? Like, did everybody associate you with the show, John and Ponch, that kind of thing? Was that sort of the stereotype?
Yeah, it is. And when I used to be skinny, I have a paunch now, which is my belly, but I used to be skinny. I used to get teased about that. And actually, Eric Estrada's a good friend. To this day, we're pretty good friends. He's a great guy, very supportive of law enforcement, still around.
Not just that, but you two both still have great hair. And it's awkward for me to say that, but having met you, you have great hair, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So
thanks,
listen,
hey, I'll take it.
You leave CHIPS after 21 years. Yeah. What happens? How did you get to become the chief of a department, a huge one?
Well, in 2007, I was laying there going on my laptop, and I saw a job advertisement for the Austin Police Department, and they were describing a person that is forward thinking, that is creative, talking about community policing, all the stuff that I believe in. I looked at my wife and go, "Hey, they're describing me in Austin," and she goes, "They're not going to hire some state guy to be a police chief in that big coincidence." I said, "Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained." So I went there, spent 9.5 years, really reinvented that department. Moved them into the 21st century, established a lot of processes and systems. We reduced violent crime by 42%.
Wow.
Despite tremendous growth. Yeah, we're pretty proud of that. Despite tremendous growth, 42%, and in my 9.5 years. And then from there, I ended up in Houston, Texas for almost 5. And then where we had George Floyd, Hurricane Harvey, just a bunch of challenges. But then after almost 5 years there, I went to Miami for about six minutes, and then I ended up here in Aurora.
And so when you come on board with Aurora, what was the selling pitch? I mean, how did they get you to agree to do this? And I ask that in this context. There was an initial round of, the city council and the town city manager going out and saying, hey, we put out these bids. For whatever reason, things didn't work out with the three they had. What was it where you said, you know what, this is the challenge I want to take on at this point in my career?
Well, I love cops, and I was the president of the Major City Chiefs Association on the board for 14 and a half years. And Aurora, I know the city from a distance. I know how many great cops, courageous cops. I mean, you were around with the theater, and, that spoke a lot about contrast the way that Aurora responded to the active shooter at the AMC Theater to what happened to Uvalde. If that doesn't say... talk about the courage of the men and women of our department. And so when Dan and I talked, and then I talked to the city manager, hey, you all need help. Continue to tell your story in terms of the good work, and then if there's opportunities to do better, that's what I'm about. And so far, I'll tell you, it's been less than a week now, but I have really, really enjoying getting to know the men and women and seeing all the great work they're doing.
This phase that you're in right now is the interim chief. I'm not sure how to describe it in terms other than either you're engaged to the department, but you haven't gotten married, or you're like a pre-fiancé, right? Like you haven't exactly made the offer to each other yet. Do you know, have you given yourself, each side here, given you a period of time, like 2 months, 6 months, a year before we decide, are we going to just live together, or are we going to make this official?
What we've talked about is after the process really didn't meet the needs of the community, if the community isn't happy with the process, that's not good for our officers or the incoming chief. I think 6 to 12 months, they're going to pause, let us continue the work of Dan Oates that he put together, and then just continue to move forward. Look, like I always say that every chief is an interim chief, right? Especially in this environment. We're lasting. We used to last when I became a chief, a big city chief in 2007. They used to last 3 to 5 years, closer to 3 than 5. And then in the last 3 years, I would say that for a while there, we were losing chiefs that they weren't even lasting a year in the big cities. It was just crazy. And the last thing you need is a lack of continuity of leadership is a disaster if you want to evolve a culture.
Why do you think we've gotten to the point where it's easier to replace a chief of police than it is to replace a losing coach for the NFL?
Oh, God. You know what? Because of politics, right? Most chiefs don't. I don't know of any chief that has a contract where they can't be terminated. You're at will. And so, unfortunately, elected officials, especially in the strong form of government, when something goes wrong, whether or not it's the chief's fault, you got to show in their minds that you have to do something. And the most visible change you can make is the police chief, which is unfortunate because, again, it's not fair to the officers. They want some continuity of leadership, and I think the community needs to have continuity of leadership. But it's just the world we live in, and it's something that as a police executive, I've always told young executives: if you're afraid to lose your job, do not become a police chief.
That's
stay a captain.
That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true because and that's the other thing is if you make decisions based on the political winds of the time, you are not doing the community or that department any and you don't strike me as that guy anyway. In just the short amount of time that I've gotten to know you and some research that I've done, you're either going to do the right thing and you're going to be supported, or you're going to do the right thing and leave the job. I mean, those are really the only options.
No, I mean, look, my philosophy in terms of leadership is A, you lead from the front. B, you don't ask your folks to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself, and C, I look at Aurora, and it reminds me a little bit of it is a huge city that sometimes doesn't realize it's a huge city, and we have to change our processes, our systems, and provide our officers what they need to be successful. And so I think we have to help educate everyone involved, our stakeholders, as to the fact that the city's growing very quickly, and if we don't evolve in terms of the way we do business, we're going to be in trouble. For example, it's 2022 now. We're almost in 2023. We don't have a real-time crime center where we can get information, tactical information out to our officers right away. And so I'm here at this conference with the PSP, the Public Safety Partnership with the Department of Justice, and I'm already working a colleague that I know who was number 2 at LAPD and is working for a pretty rich guy that wants to spend money on criminal justice. And I'm hoping he can get us some funding. So I'm already working to try to get some funding, some private sector funding, philanthropic funding to be able to accomplish some of the things we need to move the department to make us work not necessarily harder, because our cops are working really hard, but we need to work smarter, and that's up to the leadership to get that going.
When you tackled Austin as the chief, and you said you were able to lower the crime by 40+%, I can't remember the exact number, 42%, which is impressive. What changes did you make there to get there, and are those changes that are still available to you here in Aurora?
Wow, that's a great question. I think, well, first of all, we really weren't looking at data, right? If you don't arm your officers with information on who the bad actors are, what do they want, what do they look like, where we might find them, where we should put those police officers in the first place in terms of our assets. We have to be nimble, especially a department like ours that's so understaffed. We put together an intelligence center that we didn't have when we got there. We didn't have public safety cameras because it's a very progressive city. And unfortunately, the previous chief couldn't get some of the stuff done, including public safety cameras. We put together a real-time crime center, and I can go on down the line. I think a lot of those things, when it comes to exploiting data, having the dashboards, having information at the fingertips of our cops, so they can put together their play, right? But what are we going to do? What do we have today that's available to us as resources, and what are we going to do? And we have to be nimble enough using that data to provide, to inform us on how to deploy our limited resources, where to put them. So there's a lot of things we can do. You can't do it you can't turn the ship on a dime, but they're doing great work. And I think, unlike some folks that might think that this consent decree is a bad thing, it really isn't, because it forces, especially a state one like this, that it doesn't say we're broken. It just says, hey, you have opportunities to tweak some things. And what that consent decree does, it gives us an opportunity, and it actually forces our political leadership to invest more in good policing. And good policing requires appropriate funding, and it requires enough bandwidth to actually go out and do the good work. And so I'm hoping to leverage that to keep getting these officers what they need to do a great job for the community. One
of the things that's been lurking out there now since George Floyd is the recruiting and retention of good officers to the job. From where you've been, what have you noticed, and how are we going to tackle? I think Aurora's maybe 50 officers light right now, and you can correct me on that if there's a better number. But how are we going to? I don't think just fill the uniforms, right? Because you can fill the uniforms with anybody. But I think everybody out there wants the best damn police officers we can get. How do we do that? And funding, I know, is part of it, but how do we get back the morale? How do we get back the pride? And I think Dan restored a bunch of that. How do we get back the community support?
Well, first, I think it's we look. It's a time where in our country where people are very quick to criticize, very quick to, point out failures. But I like to say that we, as much as we need to hold our profession accountable when we get it wrong, we need to lift up good cops. I think it starts with the community and your listeners. When they see a police officer, just simply say thank you, a wave, a smile, thanks for your service, those kind of things. Our officers right now feel like, I don't think anybody, they feel invisible, right? They need to be seen. They're not just seen when they get it wrong, but seen on a daily basis when they get it right. Secondly, we have to continue to tell our story in terms of the police services, not just in Aurora, but across the country, of all the good stuff that's going on. Quite honestly, people don't understand this, But we are operating at a time when the trust of government is at a historical low. And if we looked really closely, the entity in most cities that's trusted the most compared to the rest of the government is actually the police department. So despite that narrative out there that the community doesn't support the police, they absolutely do, especially in high-crime neighborhoods. And then the other thing we have to do is that we all need to become recruiters. I'm telling the officers as I'm going around the city, hey, thank God there's such good men and women in Aurora. They just agreed to change their shifts from the 410, which data and studies have shown is the best for wellness, for our individual wellness, right? Well, they voted to help really spread out this then department to voluntarily go to 312s, which is not the most ideal. But so I told them my promise to our men and women is that that as soon as we get back up to speed in terms of our staffing, that we will go back if they choose to go back. They may decide they like the 312s, right? But it speaks to their willingness to do whatever it takes to get the job done for the folks in Aurora. So I said the thing we need to do is we all need to become recruiters. I'm always recruiting. So your listeners out there, don't listen to that the sky is falling. It's not. It's still a great career. I work patrol Friday night till about 2:33 in the morning with our folks. And I got to tell you, those officers they're doing great work. They're having fun. They're supporting one another, and they're doing their best to keep our community safe. So don't listen to the naysayers. If you're not sure if you're interested in a policing career, come and do a ride along with us. Come out on a Friday or Saturday night. You get to go out with our officers, and you'll get to see the real, the truth, and get a real feel for what the profession's like. And if you even thought about it, if you like people, this is the job for you. And if you want to make a difference, this is a great time in our history to keep the train going, moving forward. So for listeners out there, come on out and join us. I'm 58 years old. I was out of policing for 18 months. And I'll tell you, I mean, Friday when I got in that police car with Ryan Sweeney, I had not been that happy in 18 months. It was a blast. It's a great career. It's a noble profession, and we're looking for some good people.
Now, Billy, also a big fan of the ride-alongs. Unfortunately, he never gets to sit in the front seat. I don't think those are. It's a different kind of ride-along that Billy's doing. I know that there's always going to be a friendly competition between sister cities for residents, for businesses, for the new Broncos stadium. Hint, hint. But is sort of the behind-the-scenes, lowercase footnoted motto for Aurora, Denver will always be worse. No, I don't want to make that weird. I don't want you to take on Denver. I just think the folks know that who live in Aurora and who work in Denver. They know that's always going to be the case. I'd love to have you back on, Chief, in the future to talk about your lay of the land, but also I want to get a sense too. We're the number one state in America for stolen cars. And there has been a real innovative effort by the city council in Aurora to try to arm you and the police department with the tools necessary. I'd love, as we get a little further down the road and we start to see the produce from that, the product from it. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's all the crooks out there. That in a lot of parts in Colorado, you get caught in a stolen car. Nothing happens to you, but in the city of Aurora, do not steal a car. And if you're in a stolen car, don't come to our city, because when we catch you, our city council has given us the tool, our mayor and council, to actually put you in jail. And I'm talking about not for a day. It'll be months. So the welcome mat is not out for the bad actors in Aurora. And the other thing is, when we have any, we may even look at our pursuit policy in terms of when we pursue some of these folks that are stealing cars. They actually go out and they're not stealing them for chop shops. They're stealing them to actually go out and commit armed robberies, drive-by shootings,
that's right,
and other violent crimes. And so if we're dealing with folks who are involved in organized crime, and we believe they're part of that investigation we're conducting, Dan Oates loosened it up a little bit under those circumstances, and you're going to see that we're going to let our officers, with proper supervision, right, and using common sense, we're going to start going after our criminals a little bit more aggressively, while still respecting the Constitution, obviously, and individual rights.
Well, welcome Art Acevedo, Chief of Police for Aurora, to Aurora, but also welcome to 710 KNUS. We hope to have you on a bunch of times to just keep updating the public on how to do policing right.
Anytime. I look forward to it. If you all need us, please give us a call.
I think it's 911. No, I'm kidding. We'll give him some other number, but that's out there. Chief Art Acevedo, thank you so much. We're going to cut away for a break. Marcus, Jim, I promise we'll get to your calls as well after this. In fact, Marcus and Jim, you will be the first callers we've had since going live on YouTube. I don't know if there's a special award for that. Mark had originally said he would part with a percentage of his salary. We'll try to figure out what those numbers look like during the break. It's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS. Oh, the wizard. Billy behind the glass, firing up chips. That's going to be the new intro music, thanks to Alexa 4, Chief Art Acevedo. My thanks to him for coming on. Let's get to the callers. We want to honor them. Marcus, first off, congratulations. You're our very first caller while we are being live streamed on YouTube. Sir, what do you think?
I think it's great. I like the chief.
Yeah, he sounds
He's
good.
brand new. That was a great interview.
Hey, thank you for saying that. Listen, more calls like this. Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
go ahead,
it's
Marcus.
just true.
What do you think, man? The bags thing.
Okay, on the bag thing, but I want to say one thing real fast on the weather thing.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever get to Farmer's Almanac?
I haven't
also,
I haven't done it yet, and I promised you I would do that. I just haven't done it.
Okay.
Have you still been keeping track? Is it still rocking it?
Yeah, it's better than what we're getting. And then this week, Channel 31 Weather said they're the most accurate in town. Check it out.
Well, we've already had on, what's his name? Who did we have on from Fox? Oh, no, we haven't yet. No, we haven't. We're lining it up. We're lining up the Fox 31 guy. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up, Marcus.
Check it out. It was on the news. Number 1 in the state of Colorado on weather
Based
accuracy.
on what metric? We're going to have to check out what they mean by accuracy. What do you think about the bags thing in the time that we have left with you?
On the bag thing, here's what I think. Years ago, they did a test on that.
Yeah.
And they found that people that brought their own bags, they brought in cockroaches, bed bugs, feces, bacteria.
Feces? Wait a minute. What kind of bags are these?
Well, just a carry bag where people would sit down in the bathroom and pick up bacteria.
Oh, I get it. On the bottom, not the inside of the bag. I had real concerns about what people were putting in there.
Yeah. So, and they were carrying in bacteria and anything that you could find, because where you set that bag, you're going to pick something up.
Yeah.
And
if we go to COVID 2.0 here, which as you can see, some of the stories are building, and there's some effort now to try to get us to a place where we're going to do that. You wonder if they're going to start letting people, if the public health department is going to weigh in and go, no, you can still bring in your bags. I wonder if they'll force us then to purchase bags. You know who doesn't have to pay for bags, by the way? The people who are on stamps, who are on food stamps. And I understand why, but if this is all about saving the planet, shouldn't we all be invested in saving the planet?
You're right. But the thing is that then as us, the people, we can sue them, because that'd be a breach of the commerce law. You cannot. I don't know why people don't fight these people anymore.
Well, because
where do these laws come from? And
you know
how
exactly
come we
where
don't
they
vote on
come from, Marcus. They did vote on them. This took place under the Gold Dome, where the progressives, who are more represented there now than in my lifetime, maybe even in the history of the state of Colorado, they're the good idea fairies, and they make these laws thinking we're doing something special for Colorado. And all it ends up doing is just hurting us because they get to feel good about this. This is one of the downsides of a legislature that is not balanced out on the other side. I cannot wait to see, maybe we'll ask Patty this in the next hour, I can't wait to see what nonsense they can dream up here in the next legislative session. Marcus, congratulations. Mark says a percentage of his salary would barely get you a breakfast at McDonald's, but I want to tell you, we'll always remember Marcus as our very first caller while we were live on YouTube. Yes, I get it. I only wear one earphone. You don't have to keep texting it in. I'm living it. Stick around. Patty Calhoun, Westward. When we come back, George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. Oh, my golly. Dun, 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 dun.
We're caught in a trap. Because I love you too much, baby.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes, all in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today. Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app.
It is I or me or they or them. I can't keep track anymore. George Brauchler with you here. Hour 3 of the George Show on 710 KNUS. We are going to relinquish the reins to a guy named Chuck Kirk at 10 o'clock. He's a national dude. I have no clue if he has subjected himself to the YouTube thing or if he's sitting in some food-stained robe somewhere doing his show. The fluffy bunny slippers, you know what I'm saying. And then Gorka Prager takes over for him at 11, then Gorka, and then we go live and local with Deb. Deb's going to be right here in this same chair at 3 o'clock. You'll get a chance to see Deb. She's a lot taller in person than you think she is on the radio. And then, of course, Stephen Tubbs, which I imagine will be a remote from a bar somewhere. I'm not sure. He'll call it a restaurant, pub, something like that. But you and I will see all the people walking by as bar patrons. Nonetheless, stick around 4 to 7 for Stephen Tubbs. We are pleased to be going back to what is quickly becoming one of our regular go-to callers for all things Colorado and bigger than that. From Westword, it's a publication I think she started back in 1977. That's the year of the Orange Crush. Lyle Alzado, the Big D. Patty Calhoun. Patty, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Yes, it was a big year. Lyle Alzado, he had a restaurant in town, which you probably don't remember.
No, I don't remember that.
Right? Yeah, it was in Cherry Creek.
I take it it's not around anymore.
No, it is not. In fact, most of we've got Shanahan's, but what other athletes?
Elway's.
Yeah.
Elway's, a couple of them. Great steakhouse there. Jimmy John's? Yep. No, I have no idea if that's an athlete. I do remember this about 77. Either it was Shakey's Pizza, which I don't think is around anymore, or it was Pizza Hut, but they had a series of 4 placemats over the course of weeks or months of the Orange Crush players of the defense. And we had collected all 4. And as a kid, I must have used those for 10 years, 15 years. I have no idea where they're at now, but they had, the old Randy Gradishar on there and Lyle Alzado and whoever the guy was that was the singer that wrote the song. He was on there as well. It was phenomenal.
Wow. That is crazy. Well, I remember very little of 1977 because all we did was basically work to put out the paper.
My God, I thought you were going to say marijuana. Thank you, Patty, for changing it to straight up just work. Speaking of work, you have generated for Westword an article, and it made me smile here, and it is about Blucifer, which for folks that are new to the area, as soon as you say it, they have to be thinking, my God, is it that giant artist-killing horse that is there at DIA? And it has a pretty interesting history. And then you talk about whether or not it has had an impact on DIA construction. Tell me about that.
Well, the greatest thing about Blucifer, and everyone knows that whether or not they live here, if you've ever come into town on the airport, on an airplane or gone out to DIA, you see that blue devil horse, which is by New Mexico artist Luis Jimenez. And it was one of the original pieces of public art commissioned before the airport was built, just when it was budgeted, because 1% of the budget had to go to art, and that was one of the pieces that was chosen. And he got very, very behind in his design, which was originally, by the way, supposed to go inside the terminal. Imagine that.
Wow.
And seeing that horse. But they decided instead to put it at the entrance, except that he got so behind that he was in trouble. He was going to be sued by the city. Finally, he's at his studio in New Mexico finishing up the sculpture, which is large, and a piece of the horse falls on him. He falls, and he dies.
Unbelievable.
Before it was even finished, killed the sculptor, and then his family finished it for him, and that's why you see it today.
How is this not a Netflix show, right? Like When Art Kills, something like that. Like this feels like it's a Netflix thing waiting to be made. But so tell me why you think it's had an impact or how it's had an impact on DA. By the way, as an aside, our friend Dan Kaplis had said, hey, he loves Blucifer, but he wanted to name it Old Meth, which I thought was also a great name given the red eyes.
Well, it has so many different names and so many different legends, but in fact, when you mention Netflix, there is a new Netflix animated series called Inside Job, which basically has cartoon characters chasing conspiracy theories, and a recent one that debuted in the new season is about Blucifer. And essentially what the plot is that underneath the rearing horse's genitalia, you find the portal to hell.
No.
Now, that could be just a rumor or it could be true.
Now, you listen, as a member of the media, I sort of have the expectation that you went and checked it out.
Well, we have actually stood under Blucifer and checked out his very impressive package. I mean, he is fairly anatomically correct. And originally, once they decided they were going to put Blucifer, the official name is Mustang, but put that sculpture where they did, you were supposed to be able to walk around it. It was going to be like a little park area, but with 9/11 and then subsequent issues like nowhere to park really, that area
Right,
of DIA,
right.
got rid of that idea. So you cannot sit on a bench and contemplate the glory that is Blucifer.
I now wish the city had invested in something the size of the old Colossus from antiquity, and it would straddle Peña Boulevard. Do you know what I mean? You'd drive right under the package you described on your way to the airport every time. Maybe that's the next expenditure of tax money.
Well, they had to buy more art when they were doing the expansion project, again, under the city's 1% for Art program. So you would think they could have thought of that. I think it would be better probably than what we're going to be getting.
When you look at what's going on with construction in DIA, and I think we're in year 15 of the actual upgrade, what's going on? What's the ETA for this thing to finally be done?
The ETA is now 2028.
Oh, my God.
About it. So back in, was it 2017 that the city had approved this fabulous plan that was going to have this Spanish company take most of the risk and turn the Grand Terminal into a huge shopping mall and also do some expansion that we needed to accommodate 100 million passengers a year. And what wound up happening is delays, overruns, the contract gets canceled, the airport has to spend hundreds of millions to get out of the contract, hire new people, and now they're finishing up. And actually, they seem to be on some kind of pace to get it done, maybe in our lifetimes, but it's certainly very delayed. And if you go out there, you suddenly wind up, I was trying to get to the walkway over to Congress Day the other day, and you just wind up hitting a white wall, and you're like, where am I going now?
That's right.
Either the gates of hell or maybe to America.
Oh, of course, the gates of hell underneath the Blucifer junk. I don't know how else to describe it. But the idea that it's going to take another 5+ years to wrap this up, I got to wonder, what in the hell are they doing? I mean, they have been tearing at it for so long. What are we installing? Like personalized hot tubs that will actually take you to your gate? what could possibly take this long? And folks don't know this either, but they invested $1 jillion in this. Remember this high-tech baggage system that was going to rock the world, and it is now completely unused underground. It just exists for no purpose at all. Are we going to see the same thing here in the future?
Well, they've said they've already started some new automated security system, and you don't really notice it, but it's allegedly working in some areas. So one of the big projects, which exists from the original plan to expand, is moving all the check-in up to the 6th level, because you don't need all those, or I should say, it's up to the 6th level, because you don't need all the big counters you used to have.
Oh, yep, that's right.
Because you're doing all the work yourself. So you don't have to have big counters where people will help you. You just need to have a lot of check-in spots. So so they're not moving those, they're condensing those, and then where some of those check-ins used to be is where security is going to be. So the Great Hall
interesting.
is allegedly being restored to its mission of being a Great Hall, which was designed before 9/11 and all that added security. But the problem is there will be some divisions so that you can't get into part of that Great Hall unless you've gone through security.
And part of going through security is you've got to be a ticketed passenger.
Right, exactly. So
that's tough, because right now you can wander along some of the shops and restaurants without really going anywhere. Maybe you're dropping someone off. They're going to cut down on that. I have a need for the people when I check in, really, and sadly, admittedly, only to put that damn sticker on my suitcase. For whatever reason, I can't make it fit the right way. And these people look at me like I'm suffering from a disability, and they come over and they're like, no, I got it. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, I just don't know what I'm doing. That's the only purpose they serve for me right now, because you're right. Otherwise, it's all go to the kiosk, do your thing, get the printouts. And every once in a while, every time, they ask to see your ID because they want to make sure that Patty Calhoun isn't really some Russian spy or something like that. And we're not convinced. But the idea that that DIA is not going to be fully restored to whatever condition it's supposed to be in until the 51st anniversary of Westword, that's got to mean something.
Wow, that is maybe the most horrifying thing I've heard this morning. But you're right. It will be a while. And, DIA has been a success more than people had originally. There were so many naysayers in the beginning, how far out it was. Yep. Well, it's not so far out anymore if you look at everything that's gone on. And it is the 3rd busiest airport in the country right now. And a lot of that is because it has worked as a place for connection, as opposed to flights that begin and end here. But on the other hand, there's a reason there are all these conspiracy theories, which is so many things have just been crazy and gone wrong, from the very delayed start to that haunted baggage system to the killer horse.
Have you been on a tour of the place, like the underground place, Patty?
I have been in the underground place.
Me too, and it is pretty awesome. The behind-the-scenes thing is pretty cool, and that eerie baggage area that's shut down now that doesn't work. Whoever took me on the tour, and they'll remain nameless, only because I imagine they have a warrant for their arrest, but they had said, hey, sometimes in the winter we've had to chase out homeless who figure out a way to get in here. And I'm like, wait, what? That doesn't feel secure. Like, how are you getting into the nether regions? This feels a little bit like the Scorch trials. Do you know what I mean? From Maze Runner. But nonetheless, let me shift gears with you, Patty, because I want to ask you about something else that's going to start taking place right here in our beautiful state on January the 1st. And that is, you and I are going to have to start either coming up with our own reusable bags to shop in, or we're going to be paying a dime for every bag. What are your thoughts on that? And have you had anybody even recognize that it's happening and voice some support or disagreement with it to you? Like, what's the sense of it?
Well, of course, that has been going on in Denver for a while, all Denver supermarkets. So I frequently will go shop near my mother down in Centennial because you can get more bags there, and I have various uses for those plastic bags, which I'm going to have to rethink about. I don't throw them out. I use them in their shreds. One of the interesting things that has come up a lot is from retailers, because they don't understand if can they not supply a plastic bag? I know you were talking about Target earlier.
Yeah.
Some of these small places that have fancy plastic bags that they want you to keep to show you've shopped there, can they not give those, or do they have to charge their customers for them? So there are a lot of different things that haven't really been explained as you expand this program way beyond Denver. Supermarkets we get. We are just not going to be able to get those plastic bags. But at retailers, that's the big issue, and especially during this holiday season, I've heard a lot of them talking about it.
I wonder, too, if you're going to continue to have people help you bag your stuff, if you're just bringing in some bacteria-riddled or I don't know what's taken place in this reusable bag, and you're asking some kid at the end of the aisle there to start sticking food in there, if they're not going to either glove up, mask up, or say, hey, listen, I just can't really do this. I'm not sure, but that looks like DNA in the bottom of that or something. I don't like the idea, too, that they have given incentive to both the retail establishment and the government to buy into this program. So they say, oh, hey, city and county, you guys get 6 cents of every dime. And you know what, store? You get 4 cents of every dime, which I imagine they will spend on the accounting and collection of this kind of stuff for people. But it makes me feel bad about government. I understand why they're doing it. I understand that businesses can make decisions on their own. But to have the government swoop in and say, nope, it's a dime a bag, Patty Calhoun, I don't like the way it feels.
No, it has worked out in Denver without the city crumbling any more than people think it's crumbling already, which I would argue is that's a difference. So, but it is just, it does seem an intrusion in a way if people don't have the choice that way. And you're right about the bagging. I mean, I have seen a few clerks just going, ooh, this doesn't look fun.
Yeah.
Just letting you bag your own stuff, just the way you check out your own stuff.
Right. Is there a way to beat the system? Have you given it any thought? Like right now, you beat Denver's system by shopping in Centennial. And by the way, as a member of the 18th Judicial District, thank you, because that's in Arapahoe. What now? What can you do now to protest this?
Let's see. I guess you could neither bring in it, but you could just carry everything out in your arms, possibly. I've noticed a few people, you have to say, if you're self-checking out, you have to say how many bags you've used. This is in Denver. I suppose you could lie, but I think the better protest is always to somehow contact your representatives and say, I don't like this, and here's why. Can you explain it to me?
That right there will absolutely have an impact on this General Assembly. That's going to make a huge difference. I'm kidding. Last thing I was hoping to ask you about, Patty, is are you a Twitter user? And I don't mean you just have an account and you post it. I mean, are you a daily Twitter user? And if so, what do you make of what's going on there with Elon and Twitter?
Well, the Elon thing that's so interesting is how he got booed when he showed up on stage with Dave Chappelle this weekend.
That's weird.
People are not happy with the changes he has made there, or with other things. Maybe they own his cars. We use Twitter for every story we post. We let people know a new story is up. So at Westword, we'll use it 15 times a day. I generally try to stay away from it otherwise.
Why?
Well, I have enough garbage in my life as it is, and for the most part, it's very insider with journalists, I think, often talking to each other. You have a very specific position you're trying to use, set an agenda. It's not really conversational and show pictures of your kitties like Facebook.
No, that's true.
It is. I do see Twitter being misused.
Well, if you're now in charge of Twitter, you've dug deep into Patty Calhoun's retirement fund and you've freed up $44 billion to become the majority shareholder there. What changes would you make to Twitter that would make it more attractive to you?
Oh, that's a good one, because really you have to, the whole moderation level is really tricky. We get into it with comments and stories and letters. You get into it with callers. How do you moderate it so you can have a great forum for free speech, civil discourse, like the old Village Square where people could stand up and yell on their soapbox? How do you allow that without also allowing hideous hate speech, complete fallacies? How do you do it? And I don't have a solution for Elon Musk, but if he wanted to pay me $1 billion, I'd try.
Yeah, and he's got it, apparently, for the moment anyway. It is poison. There's no doubt. And I use Twitter every single day, multiple times a day, but it is poison in that it does not allow for civil discourse as much as just discourse. And it's coarse discourse. I mean, the fact that people can show up on there anonymously frees them up to really reveal what's going on in that open, vacant space that should hold a heart in their chest. And it's just pure poison. And I find myself relying more and more on the most beautiful feature they added in a few years ago, and that is not block. I don't like the block because it gives some satisfaction to the other person. It's mute, because they don't know it, and they're screaming into the abyss, right? They don't know that you can't hear them and you don't want to hear them. But at the same time, the fact that that has to exist because of the poison that's on there, it's troubling.
It's poison, and it's like crack for a lot of people. I will walk by people's desks in my office, and they are just scrolling through.
Oh, I know.
They're not looking for great story tips. They're just looking to see who might have responded to their comment, who might have just put something up that's funny. It's poison and crack, and really something we need to work on. At the same time, I love the fact that people have access to more information, communicating, but how do you keep it civil?
Well, and the new thing with this release of these quote-unquote Twitter files is the modulation. I don't know if it's modulation, moderation, censoring. You can use a whole bunch of different words to describe what has been revealed, and that is that a bunch of conservative people were either not throttled forward or they were throttled back in their message, harder to find. That's troubling, too. In no way do I think this is a First Amendment issue, right? Like, private company can do whatever the hell it wants. But I do worry about a platform, even one that has a smaller number of followers than Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of them, doing that to those who are trying to put that town square-like information out there.
Right. It really is dangerous.
Patty Calhoun, you have been wonderful to give us some of your morning. I don't want to ask where you are right now because we want to figure out a way to get you also on screen here as the other guests that we interview, and I'm just going to picture a bar-like background where you're waiting for it to open, you're sitting in your car. No chance?
Well, bars do open at 7 o'clock in Colorado. So.
I don't know why you know that. Actually, I think I know why you know that. Patty Calhoun, thanks a lot for calling. Can't wait to see your next column. You can check it out at Westword. Patty, we'll talk with you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Hey, that was Patty Calhoun. She is the founder and editor of Westword. The big announcement here, I did not know this. It is going to be 51 years since Westword was founded until DIA is fully open and functional. I imagine it's going to be a lot like the Big Dig in Boston. It will never end. It will just continue to go on. It's like fixing I-70. There is no time when you can go, whew, all done. Hey, listen, when we come back, we're going to get to our callers at 303-696-1971. I am interested to know how you're going to beat the system on this bag thing, or is this much ado about nothing? Do you think this is a good thing that we ought to be doing? This is the way we're going to tackle pollution. This is the way we're going to tackle waste. This is the way we're going to help heal Gaia, Mother Earth. 303-696-1971. I see some texts that are in here as well. Right quick before we cut away, I had mentioned Dan Kaplis and the term old meth. Dan isn't just a funny guy, by the way. He's a great guy. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of mine. He was my former employer. He is a top-shelf civil attorney, and that's to be distinguished from the criminal world. In the criminal world, you got prosecutors and defense attorneys fighting over things like freedom and justice and fines. In the civil world, you have folks fighting over justice and how to figure out a way to put a couple bucks in someone's pocket to make up for what has been taken from them by the negligence, recklessness, and in some cases, the intentional conduct of someone else. Dan's the guy you call when you want to do that. In fact, if you take a look on the YouTube right now, you can see a picture. I presume this is the picture that comes with the Dan Kaplis wallet. There's Dan in the middle. I presume all those other good-looking people are photoshopped in there if you're taking a look at it. I can see Bobber in there. I can see Mike Kane in there. I see Amy in there, who I used to work for me. I promoted her a couple times. I don't see Megan in there, but I know she works for them. She's killing it for them. And let her and Amy and Bobber and Mike and Dan do it for you as well. You pick up the phone and call them 303-907-5003. If you're looking for a champion to get out there and joust for you and win for you, it's the first, bestest place to go. You can check them out at dankapleslaw.com. That's CAPLIS.com, dankapleslaw.com. George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS. Baby, here I am, man on the... Sing along. I can give you what you want, but you got... George Brauchler back with you here on 710 KNUS on The George Show. My thanks to Patty Calhoun from Westword. Part of the conversation that we had, yes, was about Blucifer, or old meth, as Dan Kaplis calls it. But I also wanted to talk about this plastic bag thing that Billy turned me on to today. I remembered at the time that it was voted in, I believe, party fluid Kevin Priola, a state senator who used to be a Republican and then saw the writing on the wall and went Democrat. And by the way, helped to fight the idea that the people he represents should actually have a say in whether he represents them. Anyway, he, I believe, helped vote this thing in, which is going to create a 10-cent per bag tax, if you will. I'm sure they're going to call it a fee, because anything with the word tax brings in the ghost of Tabor, and they just can't stand that. They want to put Tabor down. They want to exorcise Colorado from the clutches of Tabor. And so this thing is going to be divided up. 6 cents of every bag you have to buy is going to go to your local government, county or city. Another 4 cents is going to go right back in the pockets of the store that's required to use it. I wonder if what we shouldn't be doing here, and by the way, I'd love to get your thoughts on, are you going to just give in and comply with this? Are you going to bring in your own bag? Somebody texted in the brilliant idea that you can get 8 jillion of these things off of Amazon. And you can then bring them in and have them use them. I think they would use them that way. I don't know. Maybe you can bring in your old single-use King Soopers bags and have them be dual use. I don't know the answer to this, but I think this is the worst of government to do this right here. But here's how you can make a difference. There's really no chance at all that you are going to convince this current General Assembly, which is going to be bluer in January than it's ever been. Talk about Blucifer. There's no chance at all they care about the money coming out of your pocket for some good cause. They just simply don't understand how taxes work. They think it's free money. They think that if they tax you, it'll come out of some other special money tree. It doesn't matter to them. However, you may be able to have an impact on your county commissioners and your city council members. And guess who's up for election next year? City council and school boards. This can and should be a front and center issue. And the question should be, can a city council pass an ordinance or a law of any kind that refunds back to the store whatever that 6 cents is that they were required to give to the city and the county if the store agrees to provide a full 10-cent credit against whatever you purchase? They're collecting the 10 cents, don't get me wrong, but then they turn right around and credit to you in the same purchase. That's the kind of genius thinking, I think, that helps beat this ridiculous system. And remember, Patty told us something super special and important. Denver's been dealing with this for a few years now. And this is what we're going to see more and more of. All the Boulder, Denver good ideas become statewide mandates. Because you know what? You're not smart enough to think for yourself. You're not smart enough to make decisions about how you want to deal with what's going on with the environment. You need to be coerced into doing things that are better for the environment. Thus, all of this tax subsidization of the electric vehicles and all that other stuff. By the way, no tax subsidies for the hybrids. I own one. I didn't get any tax money back from that. You have to do the Tesla. You have to do is it Polaris or Polar or something like that? Has a really cool car. And some others. That's what you end up having to do. So the question is 303-696-1971. What do you think about this bag thing, and how are you going to beat the system? My great concern is we're going to have folks who have just a different concept of cleanliness than I do, who have used their bags for all sorts of things like severed heads, other raw chicken or meat, bringing their bags right back in after simply a quick spritz with a spray bottle and bringing it right back into the store. And I'm anxious to see, as COVID 2.0 rears its ugly head and the government is tempted through an emergency order that Governor Polis will continue to extend time in and time out, whether or not there's going to be the opportunity there for the health department to step in and say, you must wear a mask and you can no longer bring in your own bags because they're going to bring in germs. You can't do it anymore. Is the practical consequence of this too, as I listen to Patty talk about it, that right now we're moving to a place where we're going to have more people just say, you know what, bring me my damn groceries. Just bring them to my house because they have those delivery things. Here's what's super fun about that. That's driving. Driving in cars that most likely run on gas because 90 kajillion% of cars out there run on gas. And so we've traded plastic bags potentially for an increased number of cars on the road driving an increased number of miles, all in the name of serving Mother Gaia, the planet Earth. What are we doing? Here's some folks texting in. Hybrid people can't make up their minds. No. It's not a trans car or a bi car or whatever it is. It's a hybrid car. It does both equally well. Maybe I got to retract that statement. I don't know. George, wish us luck in Jeffco with commissioners like Andy due to overturn Tabor Kerr running things. That's Steve. Steve, for folks that don't know, Andy Kerr isn't just the guy who's on the county commission trying to overturn Tabor. Folks out there may remember he's the guy that actually sued the state of Colorado, claiming that Tabor was unconstitutional because it took away the right of the legislature to raise taxes. That's no joke. That is real. That is Andy Kerr. That's what he did. He said it's unconstitutional for voters to withhold the ability of the legislature to tax us. Yep. And he did it with your taxpayer money. Here's one. Hello. On the issue of reusable bags, it is my understanding that for 1 year they will charge X amount per bag, and the next year there will be no reusable bags at the store. You will bring your own, or you don't have any. No, that's not true. And let me say, again, if it's true, it's because the Department of Revenue here on the state website is just wrong. Here's what they're saying. Between January of 2023 and 2024, a store may furnish a recycled paper carryout bag or a single-use plastic carryout bag to a customer at the point of sale if the customer pays a fee of 10 cents per bag or a higher fee adopted by the municipality or county in which the store is located. On and after 2024, a store may furnish only a recycled paper carryout bag to a customer at the end of point of sale. Okay. So you can get a recycled paper bag for 10 cents, but you cannot get the plastic bag. You cannot get the single-use plastic bag after January of 2024, but you can get a recycled paper bag if you pay the 10 cents per bag or a higher fee imposed by the municipal or county in which the store is located. Here's my suggestion. If you live in a municipality or a county where someone's up for election this year, you ask them, what are you going to do with that money? Why won't you refund the money back to voters, or why won't you refund the money back to the stores, conditioned upon them giving a credit for the full 10 cents to everyone who ends up having to get a bag? That just strikes me as good business. Pin them down and commit them to that, or you vote them out of existence. If you have anyone that will balk at the idea of saying, oh, no, we're not going to raise the bag fee, because all of that is just extra revenue. And again, they get to do it without going to you, the voters. Because it's considered a bag fee, they can raise that fee by a single vote. If they tried to raise taxes on you, they couldn't do it without going to you, but they can raise any fee they want. So if you live in a city or a county where the commissioners or the city council won't commit to not doing that as a part of their service or even running for office, two things: either vote them out of existence or move. And you can vote with your feet. And I think that that's happening nationwide, but maybe it's got to start happening statewide too. And that is leave the Denvers, because Denver they don't care about you. They want to tell you what to think and what to do, and otherwise they're going to not cajole you, but coerce you into doing something else. What happened to paper bags? Nope, that's still good. George, this plastic bag rule will not affect the unhoused because they take the whole shopping cart. Thank you, Texture. That is exactly right. Here's one. Because the school board and these other openings are coming up, I suggest we get some Republicans running for those departments and get those people out and do what we need to do to collect those ballots and change it from the inside out rather than letting Democrats continue to run the show. Believe me, I get it. I think that's the model for every election. The problem is there's just more people that think like they do than us right now. I make all the lefties bag my stuff in GOP bags. That's also very, very funny. God, the texts just keep coming in. And of course, you can hit us at 710knus.com and the 710KNUS app. If you see me on camera here looking off to the side, it's because I'm reading the texts as they come in. And if you text in, as long as it's appropriate, and even then if it's not, I'll try to make it appropriate. I'll end up reading it on air. Let me tell you something else that's totally appropriate, and I'll talk about on air all day long, and that is Gay Ribble with the Ribble Group and Power Home team of Keller Williams Realty. This is a market where, and this is interesting, there was an article out, some statements that were made by Janet Yellen. And what is she yelling about? She's yelling about interest rates, claiming that for sure they've got them licked. They're going to be coming down. Yay, joy. We saw that mortgage rates dropped within the last couple weeks, down from a high of 7+ down to at one point 6.3. All of this is getting people's attention who are thinking about, one, do I have to move or do I want to move? Should I move? Can I get the top dollar for my house and then get into my dream house? What a stressful process to go through, undeniably stressful. I've been through it a few times now. It's always cause for anxiety. If you want someone who will take the stress out of that stressful situation, then you got to give Gay a call. And you can actually go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's the best first place to go. Check it out. And Gay is Gaye, hasthebuyers.com. But the other thing you do is you give her a call at 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD. The reason the stress goes away Yeah, she's an expert. Yeah, she's been doing it for decades. Yeah, her team can get you the top dollar for your house and get you into that. Yes, all of that is true. Yes, they have 14,000 plus buyers in waiting to look at your listing. All true. But the number one reason is that they make you guarantees in writing to do things like, oh, I don't know, sell your house at 100% of the asking price, or they'll come up with a cash offer that'll make sense to you. They sell it within the time that you want, or they'll make it right for you. Who else does that in the real estate world? Put your mind at ease. Put your pocketbook at ease. Get out of your current house, get into the new, better house, and give her a call at 833-301-SOLD. 833-301-SOLD. That's gayhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, you, me, the calls, the texts. It's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler right back with you here for the final segment of the third hour of the show. We normally do this in the 6 o'clock hour, but we had so much fun, especially with the launch of the YouTube channel here. If you have not yet done it, please go to something called YouTube, and I think it's YOU-tube, all one word, and go out there and look for 710 KNUS George Show or George Brauchler, and then subscribe to it and like it and share it with your buds. And this is the part we normally get in the 6 o'clock hour. It sounds a little bit like something cathartic that we do every Monday, just so you can vent. Remember, we're not here to solve problems. We're just here to complain, and this is how it goes. Hour, his own grievance over the weekend. Billy, please share.
I am so mad. This is ridiculous, okay?
And this isn't Broncos related.
No, not at all. This is, let's see, we should call, this is a local drug store that dispenses all sorts of other household items that may go by the name of Small Greens. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe something close. I'm not sure.
Sounds eerily like CVS.
Yeah, it really does.
No, something else.
It's very strange. This is what happened is last week, my college student took a crash on his bicycle. He found out very quickly that sometimes that shiny part on the pavement is not water but ice.
Was that the Arizona paint?
Yes, it was. It was the Arizona paint that got him. So again, it was a instant science lesson. Unfortunately, it also included a lesson about gravity and breaking of bones. So he came down and scratched the crap out of his face. He's got a couple of stitches in his chin, but he has broken his right elbow, and that's a problem. And so it really hurts. I broke my left elbow when I was in third grade.
What? Is it genetic?
With he and I, yeah. we're actually, other than my youngest daughter has one broken bone, but other than that, only he and I are the ones that have broken bones in the household.
Stuntmen or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll tell you about broke collarbone mountain at some point, but that's another story. So back to Small Greens. He has the broken elbow. Now there's a Small Greens in Fort Collins where he goes to school, and they sent the prescription there to Small Greens for him to pick up. He went there, and they went, "Oh, we'd love to do that for you, but our pharmacy is closed, sir." It is which makes total sense during the week.
Of course.
For Small Greens to have a closed pharmacy. That's great. So we go up late last week and pick him up on a Friday, bring him back down here, and we try to get the prescription transferred to our local Small Greens just down the road. And they say, "No problem, sir. We will be happy to do that for you." They take the order. We go in and we pick it up, and they said, "Great. That's going to be, let's see, this and that's going to be about $300. And we're like, hey, no, excuse me. Well, what about the insurance? You know, the thing that we're paying so much for. They go, "Oh, yeah, see."
Sorry.
You see, what happened is the Small Greens up in Fort Collins, because the prescription was filled there, you have to cancel it there. Otherwise, when we run this prescription through, your insurance sees that one prescription has already been filled and will only cover that one within a certain window.
Really, this seems obvious.
Second one,
you just have to cancel it at the closed Walgreens. I mean, Small Greens. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So calling the closed pharmacy is an exercise in futility. They have been closed for 3 days. We have not been able to get a hold of anybody at Small Greens, and especially because of their damn automated system. You can't talk to a person. You call them, you go through the computer, never talk to a person. So this has been a really, really difficult weekend for my son. Thankfully, I'm somewhat of a low-key hoarder, and one person in the family had some dental surgery earlier in the year, and we still had some low-grade pain meds. Not big ones, just low-grade pain meds, basically like, Tylenol with some codeine and stuff in it. So little tiny things that can take the edge off, but he's still in a lot of pain, and we go see the
Listen, the only thing you've said that got the prosecutor's attention was hanging on to the old prescription meds and repurposing them.
Hey, I wasn't repurposing them down at the local elementary schools. That's at
not
least a
yet,
positive
but
of
I
mine.
feel like it could be $25 a pill now at this point.
I appreciate your faith in my morality. Thank you very much.
Listen, the one thing we know about them is they don't contain any fentanyl. Those things are like gold on the street.
That is true. Yeah, we can guarantee them. I guess I haven't been thinking with my entrepreneurial spirit.
One thing about Walgreens before we punch out, and this is legit, since the COVID, if you ever go to one of those counters in there, you see some of the most stressed out human beings possible. They cannot keep people on board.
Yeah.
And these pharmacists, I mean, we're going to have It's a Wonderful Life moment, right? Where someone's going to put something together that shouldn't be, and all of a sudden Billy takes it and he's got hair growing out of places that shouldn't have hair or something like that.
I'd like to have that. I have that already. I'd like to get rid of the places that are growing the hair I don't need.
You've already become a victim.
Yeah, excellent.
Listen, we're going to cut away for a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by our own in-house former teenager, as this weekend she just crossed over into her 20s. That's my daughter, Amanda. So stick around. It's always interesting to know what she's thinking and how I'm to blame for it. It's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today. Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well,
Take me down to the paradise city where the grass. It is me back for the last hour of the show before we turn it over to Charlie Kirk on the back end. I don't know if he's got a YouTube show. I'd love to see what that guy looks like when he's talking into the microphone. Probably in a hot tub. That's how I want to do this show, Billy. At some point, we need to green screen this thing and put us in a hot tub somewhere in the Swiss Alps. George Brauchler with you on The George Show, the inaugural YouTube launch of the actual radio thing. If it's not enough to hear us talk, if what you're interested in is seeing us talk, which is also very, very special.
You know what I'm not worried about, though?
What's that?
I mean, did they fully workshop this entire experiment? Because to be fair, people are waking up and they are trying to eat. And they really seeing us? I mean, that seems like just a measure, like a recipe for nausea.
I also think that it's interesting that folks can listen to us while they're driving, their eyes largely on the road when they're not putting on makeup, men or women. But now we've encouraged them to drive and watch the YouTube channel. That is only going to lead to several more accidents on the road.
Yeah, it's not good. But at least, hey, we'll make news. It'll be on the traffic reports we run to. So, just remember.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll get a read about it.
Exactly.
That's not a defense, by the way, to any sort of careless driving. Speaking of not a defense to careless driving, I want to bring back up for this inaugural show, a special guest is someone calling us from Paradise City. You know it as the Swamp. It's Washington, D.C., and that is my no longer a teenager daughter, Amanda. How are you?
Hi, I'm awake.
There was a time when we started doing this some years ago where it was get to know your teen. That has to be scrapped now. Now it's get to know your 20-year-old, which sounds ridiculous.
I know. You've got to kick me off the program, actually. You got to find someone there now.
Is that what you want us to do? Because your brother Trey has no interest at all in being on the radio. I've tried to pull out more than one-word sentences now for years. The best I can get is thanks on the radio.
No,
That's
I'm
it.
sure. And now that it's being filmed, which I didn't know was a thing.
It's a thing. In fact, in the future, we're working out right now the technology where when we do this, you will also be on the split screen and we'll have you on as well with me. It'll almost like being in the same room. And here's where it's going to get super cool.
I can't just roll out of bed anymore.
No. In fact, that's how people want to see you. Don't do anything special. God knows I don't. I threw on a hat and a shirt that apparently doesn't button up all the way because both of my chest hairs were exposed earlier in the show. But we're going to be able to do that. Go ahead.
I said you were doing anything for the views.
That's right. Well, make sure you share with your friends this. It's a fascinating app. It's called YouTube. And apparently you can go online and look at it as well. And if you Google or YouTube, whatever that is, 710 KNUS, The George Brauchler Show, you get this thing. You can subscribe to it, like it. If you do it, I know both of your followers will jump right on board. So that will be super helpful.
Yep, you and Mom.
Now listen, there's an opportunity not just to see you on this video, but not from the Swamp, because you are, in the very near term, going to be relocating to a place called Singapore, which I believe is very close to Calgary.
Super close.
Yeah, that's going to
jump away.
That's less than a month. Have you realized that?
Yeah. No, it's dawning on me.
Yeah. First things first, happy birthday. I know I told you that on your birthday, and we shared some pictures from birthdays past. A bummer that we couldn't again be together right on the special day, but it is without question it was the 20th anniversary of one of the best days of my life.
I like how you caveat it with one of.
Well, I've got 3 other, kids that I've helped to make. Yeah, and Billy says there was a Broncos Super Bowl as well.
You did pretty well the first time.
Yeah. Well, we thought we could repeat Magic, and instead what we did is we went Magic Plus. I mean, it really was like we went Godfather to Godfather 2, which some argue is the better Godfather. I don't know. I leave that up to film critics. But it was a special day, and we went back and shared some pictures for folks that weren't part of that text chain because it's just us on FamBam. We have a picture. I will tell this story every birthday of yours. On your 16th birthday, so just 4 years ago, using my public school math, we were in a place called Bavaria at Edelweiss, which is an Armed Forces Rec Center right there in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. And I had to teach on your birthday to a bunch of Army officers, JAG officers from CENTCOM in Europe. And so I put you on one of the family buses. They do all these big tours, and sent you to Neuschwanstein and Hunschwangau, which are the two of the great castles from the Ludwig II and his family.
Couples on this bus.
It was
It's
all
like
couples on this bus.
30-year-old couples.
But wait for it. I put you on that bus, and in the only way a father can, I announced to everyone on the bus it was your birthday and that we should sing you happy birthday and that they should keep an eye on you. Wasn't that magic?
It was so funny. I almost just disappeared in Germany.
And then we
Become
celebrated
expat.
by going into the Parchenkirchen part. We found this quaint little restaurant where you had something you hated. You just didn't like it. It was some kind of goulash or something. You didn't seem to eat much of it. But I went for the
Pig knuckle, part 3.
pig knuckle. I had 3 different pig knuckle things while I was in Germany. I'm all pig knuckled out, by the way, 4 years later. But that was one of the great birthdays. Who gets to celebrate their 16th birthday abroad like that? I mean, if you're an American.
No, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy cool. And now you're getting ready to leave us for Singapore. You've become the world traveler. Now, I didn't invite you on to talk about all that stuff. I did want to get the 20-year-old brain mindset on a couple of the issues we've been talking about here on the radio now for a week or so. One of those is a topic you and I covered back when it first happened, and that is Brittney Griner. Now, Joe Biden went ahead and traded away a guy who was one of the most notorious arms dealers on the planet Earth, had probably single-handedly provided for the means of death in Sierra Leone for tens of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. We had convicted him, sentenced him to prison for 25 years, and then traded him away for a basketball star, and I thought I'd get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing that we talked about. When were we discussing this? Over the summer?
Well, yeah, back 9 months ago or whenever, when she first tried to smuggle her vape cartridges into Russia.
Yeah. I thought we needed to bring her home, and that this was the thing that has been planned or been alluded to for the past, 9 months. And also, she gets to come home and she gets to walk free and live her life, because her charge was absurd. That she was charged with, like we talked about 9 months ago. And the arms dealer can't walk free. Russia's going to have to do something with him because he's wanted in a cajillion different countries because he's a horrible person and an actual criminal.
Is that why you think they wanted him back? That they're like, yes, we want him to be subject to our own Russian justice?
Was he just walking away?
That's my guess. My guess the dude will be cut loose to help arm the folks that are fighting in Ukraine. But here's the bigger thing. When you look at all the other people that remain wrongfully detained, as Brittney Griner admittedly was in Russia, why do you think she was prioritized over? Had you ever heard the name Mark Fogel? Do you know about that guy?
Yeah, we talked about him 9 months ago. And I heard his name too. And his family said that anyone getting out of an unjust situation.
You're thinking of the Marine guy. You're thinking of the Marine guy. Mark Fogel, and that's another one where I don't know why we would prioritize a basketball star over a Marine, but I understand the Biden administration is now saying there was nothing we could do. There was nothing we could do. But there was another guy. There still is another guy. His name Mark Fogel. He's a teacher from Pennsylvania, and he and his wife had been teaching abroad for decades, and he had spent 10 years teaching in Russia, and sure enough, he has some disorder that is apparently ameliorated by THC or something, and he also brought some cartridges into Russia. They sentenced him to 14 years in prison, and I wonder if they wouldn't have given him back for the same arms dealer. And it makes me concerned that what we're doing is we're saying celebrity matters. Well, do you see that in there? Is that a concern?
Maybe, but as I just revealed, I didn't know the case of that other one.
Yeah, I know. But if it's true, and I'm telling you it's true so you can trust your dad on this because I read it online. Once you filter something online through your father, you know it becomes fact. But this has been reported. This has been reported all over the place, other than mainstream media, who's given it passing notice. But it really feels like to me like Biden was looking for a high publicity score, not a justice score, not a chance to bring someone back who's actually been over there much longer, who is facing a much longer sentence. But we were out there specifically trying to rescue Brittney Griner. as opposed to any of the others that are detained. And the concern that I have is, look, I get it. Celebrity gets you things, right? Like in the private sector, people give you hotel rooms and they want you to eat in their restaurant and they give you money for marketing their stuff. But never, ever, never should the government be in the business of treating a celebrity differently than any other American. Am I wrong?
No, I agree with that.
And doesn't that look like that's what's happened?
I mean, that's what it looks like, yeah.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is you condemn the Biden administration.
You can put words in my mouth, but I never said them.
Here's what's going to happen, and it dovetails nicely into our earlier conversation. You're going to Singapore, right? Let's say you get wrongfully detained by the Singaporean government, or when you and I do whatever we're going to do over spring break.
I don't know, I'm pretty popular. I've got like 1,400 followers on Instagram. I think I'm good.
Well, you're welcome.
I think I'm set.
But
I hit the bar for having Joe Biden realize I'm a person.
But let's say that you end up getting detained over there. Do you think for a moment that we're going to look for some other world's most notorious arms dealer, a guy called the Lord of War or the whatever it is, the Merchant of Death, and we're going to say, you know what, let's quickly trade him for Amanda?
I don't know.
I think you know the answer to that.
that.
I don't think you're going to get that treatment either, and that's what makes this whole thing unsettling. I'm going to use the word disgusting to me, because we should never, ever prioritize a celebrity over any other American. I don't care. I just cannot believe that Putin at all would say, nope, we're only willing to trade Brittney Griner for that arms dealer. We will not give you the teacher. We want 2 arms dealers for the teacher. Like, I don't see that. It makes this thing, and the lip service that KJP gives at the podium saying, you know, well, we're trying hard. We've never forgotten. We're going to keep on. Utter garbage. I mean, how did we get her back so much more quickly than everybody else? She is the bargaining chip that Russia had, and we gave into it. So my sense is it's good that you're not famous yet, because if you were famous, you would be someone that some foreign government would grab up and say, now we want this, this rogue military leader, this war criminal. We want them back. And it sounds like under this administration, they'd go, how popular is she? Can you imagine if Kim Kardashian got grabbed up? We'd probably just surrender. We'd probably abandon all of our military bases abroad and say, just give us Kim K back, please. Huh?
The world would really end if she was detained somewhere.
All right, listen, a couple other things I want to talk to you about in our time together. You are unique on a lot of different levels, not just for your perverse sense of humor, which is maybe genetic, but also because you pay attention to things that only people older and lonelier than you pay attention to, and that is like the Supreme Court opinions and the arguments that generate them. And so you listened to the argument. I cannot believe this. You listened to the argument on the 303 Creative Supreme Court argument. Let's start there, and then we'll get to the one that really hurt my brain. When you listen to it, what's your takeaway?
Kind of similar takeaway. I don't know if you talked about this on air. I'm sorry, I have not been listening to your show.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Great daughter.
It was interesting, and why I like listening to them is to listen to the hypotheticals that are given and how each case is tested against whatever hypothetical that goes up. Like Kagan had some great questions. Ketanji Brown Jackson too. I don't know. I thought it was very interesting.
Okay, but what's your takeaway in terms of, based on all the feedback, the questions, and we didn't read the briefs. We're not that crazy. We're not that lonely. Didn't read the briefs. We'll listen to the arguments. Who do you think should win and why?
I don't see the court agreeing with the state of Colorado in this case. And I think that that's because the test that they set up was the first question you have to ask yourself is if this act is speech. And I genuinely do think that Smith creating her own website that's a form of speech. But I understand Colorado's argument of like what this could mean to discriminate services from other protected classes and things.
I understand their argument. I just think it's BS because
I don't think it stretches that far.
Yeah, renting a room cannot be an act of creativity or speech, right?
Right.
I think the other thing that was telling is that, Professor Phil quickly argued the slam dunk case of the illegitimate and illegal electors in that argument to the Supreme Court. I think that came down 9-0. But in this one, he went with apparently a small squad of 10 other people to Washington, D.C., and sent forward the Solicitor General to argue. What were your thoughts on, there was more than 2 attorneys. Now, people don't probably appreciate this. This isn't just one appellate attorney arguing against another. There are other interests that show up there. Who impressed you the most of the people that argued?
I don't know the names of the people that represented Colorado. The first guy that went up for the first 5 of their arguments and responded to questions was not impressive to me at all. Really, I was getting frustrated listening to them.
To who? To which ones?
The first one for Colorado's argument.
That's the Solicitor General. That's the Solicitor General.
But the second one we had was pretty good. They cleaned up the mess that was put before them. But the strongest attorney, I think, was Christine something on 303's side. She was there first. She was crazy.
Americans
so
Defending Freedom. Yeah, she was impressive to me because she was speaking in multiple paragraphs very smoothly, and I thought, okay, this is all scripted, her introductory comments. But even when she was answering questions, and as you know from listening, it's not like they ask a question, you answer, they wait for you to finish. They'll come right in over the top of you. You don't get to come in over the top of them, right? Like, so Ketanji Brown Jackson asks a question, 5 words into it, she doesn't like where it's going. She just asks a clarifying question. Same thing with Alito, with Roberts, with Kagan. I mean, they're just like, listen, we're not goofing around here. There's no filibuster. Let's just get to this thing. And yet she constantly came back. I mean, she was smooth. And then the rebuttal thing, which I don't think could be
continuity in her performance. Yeah.
And she was really, really impressive. Now, the other insider thing that folks may not know is that we have a family friend who's related to Lori Smith, and you had the opportunity to talk with her after the arguments that she got to sit in the courtroom and watch. Did she have any feedback for you? And we're not going to attribute to it by name, but did you get any feedback from her?
No, it was kind of more just behind the scenes of she sat outside or stood outside the Supreme Court from 6:30 in the morning to when they were finally let in at 9:30 in the freezing D.C. cold and heels. So we were kind of talking about that and how crazy it was to be sitting in there during arguments and watch everything volley back and forth. But I feel like we were pretty aligned with our opinion of the case, or of the performance of the case.
And I think what's important for folks who are listening to know, too, is that you are ultra-conservative. No, I'm kidding. You're not. And this is something I've said repeatedly. This is something I've said repeatedly on air. Something about your generation, and I'm including your brothers in this and friends and stuff, I just think you're a more tolerant generation than we've ever had in terms of accepting of people for these different things that in the past might have been a basis for even legitimate discrimination. You're not that way. So this idea that there's an LGBTQ plus bias one way or the other, you actually lean far more towards, hey, I want to accept, tolerate, and protect those who have different sexual identity and sexual orientation issues. But for you, this is a matter of constitutional right. Have I misstated that?
No, I think that's an accurate way of portraying it.
Well, you're welcome. I did that right there. The other case I do want to talk to you about is the tougher one, because even my own brain, Charlie Horse, I couldn't get through 2.5 hours, almost 3
this one
hours.
I only listened to half of because I had to actually start doing real people work.
I had to keep restarting it because I kept falling asleep. No joke. But I want to talk to you about that one when we cut away for a break. Can you stick around, Amanda? Because this is a special one. I don't normally take you more than one segment unless you're in studio here, but I want to get to the bottom of the 20-year-old mind, especially as you wrap up your finals and all that other voodoo. I do also want to talk with you about the picture you sent of your fun birthday, which I believe included a bottle of alcohol. And you didn't turn 21. Not yet. That's a year from now. Would you stick around for us?
I don't know. Now that I'm being put on the stand myself.
No. Listen, you're not in my jurisdiction.
Well, I guess the audience will have to find out.
You're in Washington, D.C. I presume someone from the Biden administration is listening and taking notes and deciding whether or not you're worth rescuing.
I don't have enough followers.
Keep going with that. Stick around. That's my daughter, Amanda. We're going to get to know the mind of a 20-year-old here because this is the next generation. And honest to goodness, I'm just so hopeful she can bring us some extra listeners into the radio world here to try to hand this off to the next generation. 303-696-1971. I'm going to offer up my daughter for questions if you have them. There's also a bunch of texts coming in here. Before we cut away, I want to tell you and remind you really about that special thing that we did about a week ago out there at Step Denver. It was really one of the best things I think I've ever done on radio. And that was to sit down in there, talk with Paul and his team, but also some of the residents there at different phases. Some had been out, a week. Some had been out 90 days. Some had been out all the way out into the housing. And I got to tell you, if you haven't gone back and listened to that Tuesday show, you really should on the podcast. These are folks whose lives are at risk and in jeopardy of being lost to addiction. And Step Denver comes in and says, we'll help you. And there's someone who came out from North Carolina specifically for this program on a bus when their life was imploding. You know, some of these guys had been sober for 5, 10, 15 years, and then they fall back off the wagon, and they're looking to try to be saved and to help save themselves, and Step Denver does it. But they don't do it for free. They can't do it for free. But one thing they don't do, and we have to help them to keep from doing it, is they don't take taxpayer money, whether it's from single-use bags at the grocery store or anything else. But you and I help fund them, and we do it by calling them and getting a tow for that truck, that car, that whatever that vehicle is that is sitting out there that you think, maybe I could trade it in, maybe I could fit. Don't. Give it to them. Turn it over to them. They'll increase the value of it. They'll clean it up, make it worth a lot more. That helps you on the tax write-off part of this thing. You know, right now, just this calendar year, 67 KNUS listeners have donated vehicles. Let's get to 75. Hell, let's get to 80 vehicles before the end of this year. We only have a few weeks left. You'll feel good about it because the thing that you do more than any other contribution you will make, even to the church, is you will help to save a life. Each vehicle is a spot for one more man in this program. Be a part of the solution. 303-296-9020, 303-296-9020, or visit stepdenver.org. That's stepdenver.org. When we come back, it'll be me, it'll be Amanda, more of the good smart talk, and you, if you want to participate at 303-696-1971. George Brauchler on The George Show on YouTube, 710 KNUS. It is me, George, and Huey Lewis right here on The George Show, 710 KNUS. You can check us out on the 710 KNUS YouTube channel, which I recommend, and then you go ahead and like that thing, subscribe to it, and send it off to your friends. I've asked Amanda to do the same. She is sticking around with us to have that conversation. Have you checked out the YouTube channel, Amanda?
No, I haven't, but I just texted my friend about it, and he's like, I'm going to listen to it every day.
That's so nice. Have him watch the YouTube thing and shoot it around. It's interesting. So far, there's been a lot of feedback from texters and even some asking questions.
Cover your face. I'm so fast only for you.
I think we're having technical difficulties. It's really hard to hear you. I'm going to have to let you go.
You have a face for radio. Why are you going to another medium?
Yeah, listen, I told Tom that coming in today. I was promised that hygiene and personal appearance were irrelevant to the radio, and now they've made one of those things real again, and it's frustrating. The good news is you got your mom's genes when it comes to the physical stuff, so that's great. The sad news is you got my genes when it comes to the sense of humor. So you will live a life alone. I'm just saying. No, good luck. Maybe it plays well in Singapore. And someone asked, why Singapore?
I'm part of a program where you do 3 semesters abroad of your bachelor's degree. It's called Global Bachelor's. And so you get into this program with about 20 other kids, and it's obligatory. The first place that you go to is all together. So they usually do it in Shanghai, but of course, because China used to be crazy with COVID and everything, we didn't know what to expect and how to plan a semester out there, so we moved it to Singapore because Singapore's completely open, common sense COVID, all of that.
That's pretty cool. The efforts there being made, by the way. I think Mom's going to try to get out there. I'm going to try to get out there, but hopefully to maybe do something in and around Singapore for a trip to come see you. Anyone who's ever checked, I don't know, Hopper or Travelocity or something, flights to Singapore are not close to free at all.
No.
Someone texted in, Global Bachelors sounds like a dating app.
I wish. I really don't think it's going to have that effect.
It does. Yep. Listen, and in no way should this be viewed as discriminatory. I'm not looking to get a phone call from Singapore that says I've met someone. Please just go get the education.
Singapore's super stigmatized, or people that are native to Singapore are super stigmatized against dating foreigners because they have such strict green card laws that they just generally people don't date foreigners because you won't be approved for marriage.
I also took a look at some of the other countries for potential spring break, like Vietnam, and what I noticed there are some cultural things. They're they don't want to see any public displays of affection, including men and women touching. Not even holding hands. No holding hands. My God, the kissing thing, I think, gets you, held up in a rice paddy somewhere. But that's a big, big taboo, too. I'm hoping that spills over into Singapore. There's no public or private touching at all. Because I just want you to learn stuff. That's it. That's all I want. And that it only has to, it's not for the rest of your life. Till you're 33 or 34, right? When you can make a good decision about that.
That's when you started. Yeah, but that wasn't by your choice.
See, a lot of people listening out there right now, and they know who the hero in this conversation is, and they're rooting for me, and they feel like you've treated me poorly. I'm kidding.
Well, it's funny because I'm your own creation, so you made your work.
It's very much like Frankenstein. Thank you for that reference. Mary Shelley talked about that in her book. Let's get back to the SCOTUS thing, and that is that you and I both did our best to listen to the arguments on the other case involving the legislature being somehow this, I don't know, unappealable power. What was your takeaway from that?
I just think it's crazy to say that the court or the state constitution has no interference power in what the legislature says. And that scares me. I'm thinking about if that happens in Colorado, because I don't want whatever our election is shaped by to be shaped by something that's elected every couple of years and something that can change and has no structure based on our constitutional principles.
Those were a lot of big words. The part that bothered me the most, and by the way, after listening to the arguments and the questions by the Supreme Court justices and talking with Chris Murray, who's our in-house legal expert, he's a big-time attorney for a big firm, but he's also the GOP party lawyer here in Colorado. it's not going to be a 9-0 vote. It's going to be a split vote. I mean, I think Chris and everyone else thinks that at the end of the day, we're not going to write an opinion, a majority opinion that's going to say that legislatures are the final word on anything, that they are the one branch of government when it comes to elections who apparently cannot be questioned or appealed. I think that's going to lose, but I don't think it's going to be a 9-0 vote. Probably a ton of concurrences maybe, but wow.
Yeah, it was just a crazy case. And it's all based on the interpretation of one word in a historical context, which is so Supreme Court, but also so hard to follow practically.
When I listen to the guy whose name escapes me, I never know the names of these folks, making the argument on behalf of the legislature wins every single time when it comes to this thing, it's not like the guy doesn't have facts and history at his beck and call. I mean, and I think it was a bit frustrating to Ketanji Brown Jackson when she was questioning him because he kept coming back to different historical answers and cases. These guys are so well prepared and so fluid with these things. I was like, he kind of makes sense. And then I would hear the other questions and I would hear the other side and go, actually, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. What am I thinking?
Right.
Can I also change gears to something else? There's a social media platform out there called The Twitter, and it is now owned by a guy named Elon Musk. You're on it. Every once in a while, you like something that I've done, or at least retweeted. Tell me your sense of what's going on, especially when it... Did you pay attention at all to the Twitter files that were released that show that there was some throttling of conservative... Yeah.
About it on my feed and stuff, because I follow pretty conservative people and pretty left-wing people.
Shocker.
A big spread.
Yeah.
So I've seen it mentioned and things, but I haven't actually read it because I haven't had time or seen what it actually entails.
Part of me is frustrated because I'm part of the ideology that apparently was throttled back, even though I can't say my account's ever been hindered by it. But what bothers me more about it is that the potential role that the government had in trying to influence the outcome. Now, they had this guy, Admiral Kirby, come on, who is apparently the go-to spokesperson when there's difficult issues because KGP is such a dumpster fire when she can't read right out of a book. But, you know, his point was, well, these are all private companies. They can do whatever they want. And I think, yeah, when the federal government calls up and says, here's something, it's just hard to imagine a social media company that is living right now under the protection of that 50 whatever it is section that protects them from liability going, I don't agree and I don't care what you think.
But that's what happened with Facebook and Google and Apple too.
I believe it's the Facebook, by the way. And this is something Billy's typing in right now. He's saying that Matt Tiabi outlines in some kind of post number 22 that there was no government interference in the Biden laptop stuff. And that's the other part of this, that the stories about the Hunter Biden laptop. Are you familiar at all with that, Amanda? Do you guys follow? Does anyone in your generation care about the Hunter Biden story?
I mean, we've all heard about it, but it's so long by now that I feel like it's not super resonant with us.
Do you think that it would be different if it were one of Trump's kids? Like everything one of the Trump kids does or in-laws does turns into this big scandalous story that becomes not only fodder for the late night shows, but becomes part of CNN and MSNBC's substantive reporting. Whereas this Hunter Biden thing, which turns out to be kind of legit, right? Like this dude was running around while daddy was vice president, getting these huge contracts with the bad guys, making a ton of money to really just be on a board, which can only lead you to conclude it's because of access. And then he's got this laptop with this stuff on it, and we're told, no, it doesn't exist. Then it did exist. We're told that the stuff is fake. Then we're told, no, it's not fake. Do you think that any of that is relevant?
I mean, yes, but I don't think that your comparison between the Trump kids being late night fodder and everyone hyper fixating on what they do and it's minute compared to this laptop stuff is accurate, because I don't think that anyone kind of knows what the Trump kids have done either. But I think general sentiment towards both the Trump kids and Hunter Biden would be pretty similar, and that people know that there's something fishy about what went on with them, but they don't know specifically what it is. And also that's not the people that we elect into office. Yeah,
but that's just it. I don't think this has anything to do with the Trump kids or Hunter Biden. It's what that influence means, right? Like, it's Hunter Biden, yeah, dumpster fire of a human being based on everything that's out there. I get it. But it's the fact that daddy covered up for him, or daddy provided him with whatever support he needed to be able to secure these big contracts on topics he knows nothing about. I mean, that's the part that smells like corruption and needs to be ferreted out. My concern here is that your generation, for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is mainstream media refuses to cover this the way they would if it was actually Donald Trump, don't care, don't know, don't care. And then at the end of the day, now the House Republicans, when they take over with their thin majority, God knows who the speaker is going to be, are going to waste a whole bunch of time. Instead of trying to fix things like, I don't know, the border, they're going to focus on these damn investigations.
Yeah.
You sounded like Trey right there. Thank you for chiming in on that. A couple of questions from texters. Ask Amanda what the government's job should be when it comes to monitoring Twitter.
That's hard because Twitter should be independent, and I feel like the government should not have a heavy hand in it. And I don't want the government to be able to, like the Apple debate from a couple of years ago, have backdoor access to your information and stuff. So I think that it should be very limited. But I think that...
Do you think the government should play any role in it?
No, outside of that, companies should be held responsible for a certain extent of what they let happen on their platform, like a certain extent of misinformation if you can. They shouldn't just get like a carte blanche write-off.
Who determines that? This is such a good question, Amanda. Who determines what's misinformation? Who determines that?
I know, and it's hard to say, but that would be, I'm trying to answer the question, the only role that I see for government. But it's hard to craft legislature around something that's ever-changing and hard to determine. But even if we're not addressing misinformation, it could be harmful rhetoric or like insightful or hateful speech and things like that. It's something describing the liability to which companies would be subjected if they let that take place on their platform. And it could be very vague or very broad.
I don't want to say the government has no role. It's so hard to want to invite them into any discussion. In fact, I wouldn't even mind opening up more liability for these companies and just saying, do what you think is right here because you're not going to be protected, and see what happens then. But anyway, here's another question from...
It's not a government role, but an opening up of liability and seeing how the companies protect themselves.
Here's a final question from our friend Alexa. If Amanda met Biden, and she says, serious question, if Amanda met Biden and he started sniffing her hair, what would she do? And then asked, what would I do? What would you do?
That's so gross. I don't know. Probably find the first person to take a picture of it and capitalize off of that.
Oh, yeah. You could be famous.
Yeah, go straight to the shampoo company I use and say, you're so damn good that even Biden loves my hair.
Even the president finds this hair attractive. Yeah. And then the question was, what would I do? And my answer was, I'd go to prison. Because I don't care who the old man is. If it's not grandpa, you know what I mean, just kissing you on the head because he loves you. If it's some dude putting his nose in your hair, it's go time, right? Like the Secret Service is going to thump me into a bloody pulp, but it'll be worth it because nobody gets to do that.
I don't know where my contracts on all these big firms are.
What do you mean?
Like if you're going to snip my hair. Yeah.
You want to sit on a board of some oil company out of Ukraine making tens of thousands of dollars a month for existing? That's the kind of blackmail that could really happen. That's really good. Mm-hmm. Amanda, listen, I love you. Hopefully we'll see you. I think it's next week you come home. I'm excited to see you again, and we'll get to do the Christmas thing. And then, my gosh, right after the new year, you're going to get on that big old jet liner and head out to Singapore.
Oh, yeah. If I can make it through finals.
Maybe we can get you in studio so we can do the camera thing on YouTube right in here with Dad.
That's a lot of pressure.
Well, I know you'd have to clean up because people haven't seen how you roll in here like you just woke up under a viaduct or something like that. They don't know because you're a college student.
That was really the only thing keeping me coming in because I didn't need to look pretty for no one. I could just talk.
And thank God. Amanda, I love you. Thanks for calling in.
Love you. Bye.
See you soon. Happy birthday. That is now out of her teens, 20-year-old Amanda. She drops in occasionally to try to let us know how scared we should be about the next generation. I feel like if there were more Amandas out there, we'd get a lot better decision making. You can just tell she's not a conservative, but she ain't a whack job on the left either. She's somewhere in that middle trying to navigate it all. I still have hope once she starts paying for her own taxes and on flights to Singapore that at some point she's going to come around to being just a bit more like Dad when it comes to the ideology. But I don't know, man. She's wicked smart. Listen, before we cut away, and I should have asked her about this, what she's doing about her teeth while she's out there. I think she just waits to come home to go see her dentist. I would love her to go see my dentist, Twin Aspen Dental Center. Now, you know that Twin Aspen Dental is my go-to place for a lot of different reasons, not the least of which is they're not one of those big national chain box store type people. They're a small business that runs in our community that really just wants to do right by the community members. And they want you to be part of the family, be part of the team. So here's what they've done that's really something special. They recognize what this economy can do for people with jobs, without jobs, with insurance, without insurance. So here's what they're offering right now. They have a plan, a reduced fee dental membership plan that you need to call them about. It offers quality dental treatment at reduced prices. This is how it works. An annual membership would include 2 cleanings. That's what you got to have every year. 2 routine exams, same thing. All necessary x-rays, usually get x-rayed about once a year. 1 emergency exam, hopefully you'll never need that, and 1 fluoride application for the children under the age of 18. You also get 25% off, that's 1/4, of all, and that's in caps, dental services. So take that first step towards keeping that awesome smile you have and make it even awesomer. Do the preventative care stuff that's going to make your life that much better. Go to twinaspendentalcenter.com, twinaspendentalcenter.com. You can hop in the car, easy to get to them, right at Parker and Stroh Road there, right by Lehman Academy. Or you can give them a call, 303-841-7466, 303-841-7466. I use them. You ought to as well. In fact, right here on the YouTube, I'm going to show you my teeth. Those are almost all entirely my teeth, and I brush them largely pretty frequently. Anyway, Twin Aspen Dental Center, check them out. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show with you. Any other texts that come in, it's George Brauchler on The George Show on the inaugural YouTube channel, 303-696-1971. Looking into the camera, I got a little lost in there. It's George on The George Show, 710.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
We have erupted right here on YouTube this morning on the inaugural YouTube channel show. It's me, George Brauchler, waving to you, which could be the last time. I don't know. We'll see if they discontinue this after this morning. You can go to YouTube. You search 710 KNUS, The George Show, George Brauchler Show. They keep throwing my name in there like people know how to spell it. Good luck. You can do it phonetically. I don't know if that works. And then go and like and subscribe to the page and then shoot it to your buddies and say, I watched this. It was way worse than I thought. That's the kind of thing that get people to want to tune in and watch. If you say it was awesome, nobody looks. But if you're like, I can't believe they're putting this on YouTube, that's what gets all the likes. That's the clickbait right there. Now, something else you got to do before we cut away is recognize that we're in the final throes of the holiday season. Folks, it's less than 2 weeks from Christmas. Less than 2 weeks. You've got a limited window here to go do something awesome for someone, and you can go to Littleton Jewelry to get it done. Now, I have struggled myself knowing what to get the kids. What do you get for loved ones, family members? Is it something that they've asked for, or is it something that they want, they just don't know it yet? And that is this beautiful piece of custom jewelry, especially if they're inclined to wear jewelry, whether it's earrings, a necklace, a ring. The folks that do it are Littleton Jewelry. Now, you can go to littletonfinejewelry.com, get a look at what they do, and they buy and they sell in the gold and the silver and the platinum. They fix watches. They fix mine. They do coins even. But the thing that they're focused on right now that they do so very well is the custom jewelry. In addition to all the repairs, all that other stuff, you sit down with these folks, and they're in such demand, these design jewelers, that other big box stores are trying to hire them. They can't even get them for even more money because they love what they do for the clients, the family members, the team members right there at Littleton Jewelry. Now, Jesse and his team of locally grown long-term folks, they're the ones that you get a hold of. Now, littletonfinejewelry.com, but I would say take some time, get in the car, drive out just south of Hudson Gardens, turn right by the jewelry repair sign, and you're going to be so happy that you did. When you go in, tell them that George said hi. They're going to say, we listen to George. We listen to 710 KNUS. They will love it. Check them out. That's littletonfinejewelry.com. Now, that brings us to the end of this inaugural show on YouTube. Tomorrow, we'll get back to more of the stuff. We'll try to figure out how to wear a clean shirt and another different baseball hat, if at all possible. I know Billy will come up with something, too, and we'll just keep this thing going. I don't know what to say about it because I find myself trapped into the camera, losing track of the ability to just talk. My thanks to Patty Calhoun, to Chief of Aurora, Art Acevedo, and of course, my newly minted 20-year-old daughter, Amanda, for sharing with us their time and their insights. We'll be back tomorrow, Josh Scharf and others, and of course, the news of the day. It is me, George Brauchler, on The George Show, 710 KNUS.